Chapter 306. It was an accident, an absolute accident. The Best Composition Award in the Asian Chinese music chart was undoubtedly the first dark horse of the night. The fans who witnessed Lu Chen's reappearance on the stage to receive the award went crazy. In Lu Chen's bar, Heavy Metal Element, who had bet half a minute ago that he would eat a keyboard, was immediately ridiculed by countless fans. The replies were extremely sarcastic. Haha. Someone is going to eat a keyboard. A custom-made magic keyboard. I believe the taste must be very good. Remember to do a live broadcast when you eat it, otherwise everyone won't recognize it. Lu Chen is big and mighty. The haters will eat *T. I really didn't expect this. This is the biggest surprise of the night, right? What a tragedy for this guy who eats a keyboard. Hurry up and eat. Everyone is waiting. Don't pretend to be a turtle. In fact, since Li Xing announced the winner of the Best Composition Award, Heavy Metal Element really pretended to be a turtle. He shrank his head and did not say a word no matter how his friends ridiculed and scolded him, as if nothing had happened. As for the bet to eat a keyboard, if you were serious you would lose. However, the majority of friends in the bar were very unhappy. Although they had miraculously succeeded in slapping him in the face, it was very helpless for someone to pretend to be a turtle. They could not penetrate the screen and pull him out through the network cable to beat him up, could they? However, when a star had a lot of fans, there would naturally be all kinds of people. Some people might look no different from ordinary people on the internet, but their actual combat power and action might be instantly off the charts. Immediately, fans who had mastered special skills used the legendary god-level trick on the ID Heavy Metal Element, Human Flesh Search. They wanted to see what kind of person this hater was. If they didn't skin him alive, they would never give up. While people were celebrating and ridiculing on the internet, on the stage of the National Grand Theater, Lu Chen received the Golden Lark Award from Li Xing. Congratulations. Li Xing showed a bright smile and opened her arms to give Lu Chen a hug. Of course, it was purely out of courtesy. She met Lu Chen at the opening ceremony of the Hangzhou Shizi Cultural Festival last year. At that time, there was a big storm because of the sulfuric acid incident. Li Xing appreciated Lu Chen's bravery and fearlessness. Moreover, Li Xing was from Hangzhou City. She and Lu Chen could be considered to be from the same hometown, so they had to be more intimate. 2 heavyweight awards before and after, and 2 heavenly queens of the singing world presented the awards. It really made people feel envious and jealous of Lu Chen. Tonight, the limelight of the Asian Chinese music chart was all stolen by him. Thank you, Lu Chen said into the microphone. I'm really surprised because in my opinion, compared to Teacher Dong Zhan, Teacher Zhang Kai, and Teacher Tang Xia, I have too much to learn. At this time, under the direction of the director, the lighting technician shone the spotlights on the 3 composers. At the same time, a close-up shot. These 3 seniors were still very graceful. Although they lost to a newcomer like Lu Chen, they were not excited or dissatisfied. They were still smiling and looking calm. I Love You China was a work that could win the Best Composition Award. The choice of the judges was not wrong. Lu Chen continued. I'm very grateful to CCTV and CCTV for giving me such a high honor. I also want to thank my mentors in life and career. They are Su Bo, Mo Ran, and Fong Mingyi. Without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. Lu Chen did not expect to win the Best Composition Award, so he did not prepare a speech. He did not repeat what he said before, so he took this opportunity to say what he had been suppressing in his heart. Without that bizarre dream, without these 3 people in the dream, no matter how hard Lu Chen worked, he would not be standing here. He thanked God for the luck bestowed upon him, and also thanked Su Bo, Mo Ran, and Fong Mingyi. It was hard to tell whether it was a dream or reality. Remember your original intention, and never forget to be grateful. Thank you again. Lu Chen bowed deeply to all the guests for the second time, and at the same time, he also expressed his gratitude to the 3 people in his memory. Amidst the waves of applause, he returned to his seat. After sitting down again, Lu Chen still felt a little unreal. He could not help but clench the award in his hand. The award was very real. Awesome. Li Mubai, who was sitting next to him, quietly gave a thumbs up to Lu Chen. He also played music before, and he knew how difficult it was for Lu Chen to win this award. It was like he was using a cheat. Lu Chen smiled faintly and felt quite emotional in his heart. Unknowingly, he had reached this step so quickly, and he had won 2 big prizes. Li Mubai's eyes lit up and he said, "There's still the Best Album award." He obviously hoped that Lu Chun could win again. But Lu Chun knew very well that it was all for him tonight. It was impossible for him to win the Best Album award. If such a heaven-defying thing really happened, then he must write the word big to CCTV. In fact, after winning the Best Composition award, Lu Chun already had a whole new level of respect for CCTV. The Best Album of the Year on the Golden Melody chart was announced after the Best Group. Previously, MSN was nominated for the Best New Group, but in the end, they lost to another boy group, July Heaven. They lost for real and were a little unconvinced. MSN's debut album, Not Yet Lovers, had a sales result that completely crushed its opponents. As for the Best Album award, Lu Chun lost very naturally. CCTV and the Golden Melody chart judges panel had given him enough glory. It was impossible to let him be complacent until the end. In this regard, even the fans who watched the live broadcast on the internet accepted it calmly. They had long been satisfied. There were only 21 awards in the Asian Chinese music chart. In terms of weight, in addition to the Best Male and Female Singer, it was the Best Album, which was a very high honor in the industry. In addition, Chen Feier was nominated for the Best Female Singer. But the crown was taken away by Zhang Linji. Zhang Linji was also a domestic A-list female singer. Although Chen Feier was greater than her in both fame and status, she did not release a solo album in 2015. Several songs written by Lu Chun for her were not officially released on the market, so her influence last year was weaker than that of Zhang Linji, who was very active. Chen Feier was a little regretful, but he still sincerely wished Zhang Linji well. As for the Best Male Singer, it was won by Hu Gong, who was also a domestic A-list singer. After more than 2 hours of ceremony, the 16th and final Asian Chinese music chart officially came to an end at the National Grand Theatre in Beijing. This very important domestic pop music award had come to an end and was about to welcome new glory. After the end of the party, Lu Chun accepted an interview with CCTV Music Channel. Chapter 307. As the first heavyweight award ceremony of the pan-entertainment industry in 2016, the end of the 16th Asian Chinese Songs chart was undoubtedly a major event in the entertainment industry, especially in the pop music industry. The next day, February 19th, the headlines of major entertainment newspapers and websites were basically occupied by the content related to the award ceremony. All kinds of gossip and commentary articles flooded the media to bid farewell to the authoritative music awards that had lasted for more than a decade. After 10 years of hard work, Zhang Linji finally won the title of Best Female Singer on the Chinese Songs chart. Chen Feier lost to Zhang Linji and faces a difficult transition, the end of an era. Tan Hong left the pop music industry with the Chinese Songs chart. Lu Chun lived up to expectations and won the Best Newcomer award on the Golden Songs chart. First won the Best Newcomer, then won the Best Composition. The music genius Lu Chun shocked the Chinese Songs chart. In the morning, Lu Shi deliberately emptied the file cabinet in the office and solemnly put the 2 Golden Lark Awards in it. She also inserted the glass of the cabinet door so that it could be seen more clearly. This was the first time that Lu Chun had won a music award, and it was 2 very valuable awards. Her sister wanted to treasure this honor of his as a memento forever. In addition, she also posted the video clip of Lu Chun's interview with CCTV's 15th Music Channel on Lu Chun Studios blog. Like many star artists, there were currently 3 accounts related to Lu Chun on Waves's blog. The first was Lu Chun's own account, Lu Chun FMX, which had more than 15 million fans. It was a celebrity's personal blog, and most of its blog posts were about life and entertainment. The second was the official account of Lu Chun Studio, which was registered 2 months ago, with more than 3 million fans. It mainly published news related to Lu Chun, such as he was going to release a new song or participate in a certain endorsement event. The last one was Lu Chun's fan club, Lu Jiajun, with more than 5 million fans. The first 2 blogs were mainly managed by Lu Shi, especially the official V of Lu Chun Studio. Her sister personally completed the daily content updates. The situation of the last support group was relatively more complicated. There were several managers, including Li Mubai. With the continuous appearance of Lu Chun's music in film works, his fame grew, And his influence on the internet and in real life also grew. In less than a year since his debut, he had faintly become an A-list celebrity. Of course, the world was so big and complicated. It was impossible for any celebrity idol to be liked and worshipped by everyone. Just as there was light, there was darkness. There were real fans, but there were also haters. There were people who supported them, but there were also people who sold them. On the entertainment channel of one of the largest portals in China, the headline of the day was, Best Composition on the Chinese Golden Songs Chart. The biggest upset or the biggest shady deal? Among the 4 major portals in China, the EasyNet had always been famous for its boldness. It often stirred up sensitive controversial topics in advance to earn more traffic and attention. Many national and current affairs, entertainment gossip, military and economic news headlines were extremely eye-catching. The editors were often unscrupulous with their personal opinions, which made a lot of jokes. Therefore, many netizens jokingly called it Pig Farm. For example, when reporting the Asian Chinese Golden Songs chart, the EasyNet Entertainment Channel was obviously not willing to be the same as other media, so it directly set up Lu Chan as a target. The article attacked him by innuendo, and the title was quite shocking. In this article, the editor first mentioned the other 3 composers who were nominated for the Best Composition Award, introduced the identity, qualifications, and works of Dong Zhan, Zhang Kai, and Tang Xia respectively, and then downplayed Lu Chan. In this way, if readers who did not know the truth read it, they would feel that the first 3 were better than Lu Chan. How could Lu Chan win the Best Composition Award? Was there really a shady deal? The article would not tell readers that in 2015 Lu Chan's works, whether in quantity or quality, had steadily surpassed the 3 competitors. It also did not clearly tell readers that Lu Chan won the award because of the popular song, I Love You, China, attacking CCTV, attacking Lu Chan, and at the same time provoking the relationship between Lu Chan and the seniors in the circle. The headline of the EasyNet Entertainment Channel almost made Lu Shi, who had just seen the news online, explode with anger. I'm going to sue them, Lu Chan said with a smile. Ignore them. The more you ignore them, the more fun they will make. It was a very profound knowledge for stars and artists to deal with the media. Some stars were discredited by the media, while some stars were doted on by the media. How to put it, was it because there was a huge difference in the character and morality of the two? The answer was completely no. Those entertainment agencies had a public relations department, which was responsible for dealing with the media. Agents of stars also had this responsibility, which was a very important daily work. For ordinary entertainment reporters who came to interview, it was necessary to give them a red packet. For large media, sending some benefits was equivalent to paying a protection fee. In case of any scandal of a star artist, how to deal with the emergency public relations was actually very important. Lu Chen's rise was too fast, so Lu Chen Studio really lacked a lot of experience in network accumulation in this aspect. Even if they wanted to spend money, they had to spend it in the right place. Otherwise, they would only be treated as a fool. The headline of the EasyNet Entertainment Channel was actually a wake-up call for him. Of course, as Lu Chan said, there was no need to pay attention to this matter at all. The more he defended and refuted, the easier it was to be discredited. As for the lawsuit, it was purely Lu Shi's angry words. Lu Chan was really not angry. The dignified EasyNet came to discredit him, which showed that he had a bit of influence. EasyNet was too lazy to waste its space on Tom, Dick, and Harry. Lu Shi also understood. In fact, they were jealous and retaliating. Our album wasn't released on EasyNet before, and our TV series weren't broadcasted by them. EasyNet owns EasyNet Games, EasyNet Music, EasyNet Video, EasyNet Live Broadcast, EasyNet YY, and so on. When Lu Chen's album, You Who Sat Next to Me, was released online, EasyNet Music also took the initiative to contact it, and the online premiere rights of Autumn in My Heart were also contacted by EasyNet Video. But Lu Chan chose the more powerful QQ Music and QQ Video. It would be strange if EasyNet didn't have any grudges. Even Senki, which Lu Chen's spokesperson, advertised on the QQ portal. If the album release of You Who Sat Next to Me was a mosquito's leg, but Autumn in My Heart was simply a big piece of fat meat. So far, the total number of views of this 20-episode TV series on QQ Video has exceeded 3.5 billion, setting the highest average number of views of a series. Relying solely on video advertising and new members, QQ Video has made a lot of money, which made many peers envious, jealous, and hateful. EasyNet Video was undoubtedly one of them. Now, it was normal for EasyNet to discredit Lu Chan. Of course, the moral integrity of this kind of media is basically negative. If Lu Chan sells the online premiere rights of his new TV series to EasyNet Video, he will definitely be praised to the sky immediately. Lu Shi said thoughtfully, "We need to hire a professional media public relations." As mentioned earlier, Lu Chen's rise was too fast, and Lu Chen's studio couldn't keep up at all. So far, there were only 2 or 3 members. Not to mention that Lu Shi had to work hard herself. She also had no scruples in many aspects. It was imperative to hire more professionals to join. Only in this way could Lu Chan be better supported. Lu Chan agreed. Then let's recruit people, and our studio will also have to change places. Not only should the number of people be increased, but the scale of the studio should also be expanded. Lu Chan has already talked to Lu Shi about the establishment of the recording studio, and Lu Shi also agreed. The key to determining the superstructure was the foundation. With a strong team and its own foundation, it would not be easily controlled by others. The only question now was, where would the new studio be opened? In order to avoid repeating the same mistakes, coupled with the need to build a recording studio, the new studio must have a large area of space, as well as the potential and space for follow-up development. In the capital, where every inch of land was expensive, such a place was not easy to find, unless they moved to the outer suburbs. Lu Shi said, "I have asked Director Lin to help me see if I can find a place in the art park." The New Era Art Center was established in 2001. It was located between Haidian Park and Beijing University. It covered an area of nearly 700 mu. It was one of the key construction projects of Beijing's art and culture. After more than 10 years of development, the New Era Art Park gathered a large number of well-known domestic film and television, music, literature, and art production units. Big and small companies and studios were as many as thousands. It could be called a place where people gathered. For Lu Chen's studio, there was no place more suitable for development than the art park. But the problem was that the place was too good. There was no vacant space at all, unless other companies withdrew. This required luck and connections. Otherwise, even if there was a place to rent, it might not be a turn. Lu Chen felt a headache thinking about it. He had promised Wang Hui to build the recording studio as soon as possible. I'll ask Sister Fei again. She should know someone who knows about it. Compared with Lin Jijie of Flying Stone Records, Chun Fei's connections in the circle were undoubtedly stronger. Tap, tap. At this time, the door of the manager's office was gently knocked on. Lu Shi and Lu Chan turned their heads at the same time and saw Lu Shi's assistant, Chun Exen, appear at the door and said, "Sister Lu Shi, Brother Lu Chan, Miss Chunfer is here." Chun Fei? Lu Shi and Lu Chan looked at each other in dismay. "Speak of the devil and he will come." Lu Chan immediately jumped up from his seat. "I'll go and greet him." Previously, Chunfer called Lu Chan and knew that he was in the studio, but he didn't expect her to come directly now. Then she must have something important to do. Chapter 308. Lu Chen's studio naturally welcomed the arrival of the diva of the singing world. Today Chun Fei changed into a Chanel spring dress. Obviously, she liked this brand very much. She had been endorsing Chanel's brand all the time, and she was surrounded by a lot of people. Under normal circumstances, there would be at least 5 or 6 people by her side. As for the number of people behind the scenes, it was at least 4 or 5 times more. In fact, it was not the first time for Chun Fei to come to Lu Chan's studio. She had been here twice before. Of course, it was business. This time was no exception because her new album had been waiting for too long, and it could not be delayed any longer. As early as last year, the news was released that Chun Fei's new album would be her transformational work, so it attracted the attention of the outside world. Fei's fans were also eagerly looking forward to the release of this new album. According to the original plan, her album should be released around December last year. However, because of the shooting of Autumn in My Heart, there had been no news until now. Many fans went to her blog to complain. Naturally, Chun Fei couldn't sit still. She had great expectations for her new album. She invited 3 works from Lu Chan, plus the theme song of Autumn in My Heart, Your Eyes. There were currently 4 songs. Write me another song, enough for half of the album. The diva of the singing world begged Lu Chan softly in Lu Shi's manager's office, which made the latter's resistance infinitely drop to zero. Well, give me some time. I'll write another song for you. A charming smile suddenly appeared on Chen Feier's pretty face. She held Lu Chen's hand and said, "Thank you." Ahem. Lu Shi couldn't help coughing and said, "Shall I go out first?" She really couldn't stand the closeness between them. Fortunately, she closed the door just now, otherwise it would be bad if others saw it. Chen Feier pursed her lips and said with a smile, "I still have a contract. I need Sister Shi to help Lu Chan read it." Lu Shi was curious. "What contract?" Chen Feier took out a document from her bag and handed it to Lu Chan. "It's for you." Lu Chan took it and looked at it, and was immediately stunned. This was a house transfer contract. Chen Feier transferred the property of room 1701 of Building 7 of Zicheng Garden District under her name to Lu Chan. The transfer price was 30 million without interest, and it would be paid in 5 years. Lu Chan is now renting a single apartment not far from the studio. The location is not bad and the rent is very cheap, but it is no longer suitable for him to live in. Because Lu Chen's fame is getting bigger and bigger, and his public influence is getting higher and higher, the environment he enters and exits is very important. Otherwise it will cause a lot of unnecessary trouble. Not to mention anything else, Chen Feier sneaked over to meet him privately, and that small apartment was very awkward and inconvenient. Therefore, Lu Chen already had the idea of buying a house in the capital. Chen Feier was very supportive of his idea. He even recommended the property in the 300 square meter high-class residential area under his name to him. After all, one should not let the fertile water fall into an outsider's field. However, Lu Chan really couldn't fork out more than 30 million yuan. Chen Feier was a very smart woman. She had a good understanding of Lu Chen's character. She knew that the latter would not accept such an expensive gift from her for nothing. Therefore, she took the opportunity to talk about the album and took out such a contract for Lu Chan. He definitely had to pay for the house. There was a discount according to the market price, but it wasn't much cheaper. Considering Lu Chen's actual situation, they offered him a favorable treatment of paying in installments. Of course, there were conditions. Chen Feier smiled slyly, like a fox that had just stolen a hen. "I don't want your interest, but I won't give you the money for these 5 songs. This way I can avoid taxes. Paying taxes according to the law is glorious." Lu Chan said with a wry smile, "It seems that I have to sign it." Chen Feier really knew him. She knew that he was a little male chauvinist, so she carefully made this contract. He felt warm and touched in his heart. "Let me see." Lu Chen's expression made Lu Shi suspicious. She immediately grabbed the contract from the former's hand. She was also stunned. After a while, her sister asked with a faint smile, "Are you two planning to live together?" This deceiving contract, even if it was worth 30 million yuan, was nothing in Lu Shi's eyes. With Lu Chen's current speed of making money, he didn't need 5 years at all. It would be enough to make a blockbuster TV series. What was really interesting was Chen Feier's thoughts. Chen Feier's pretty face turned red. She took Lu Shi's hand and said, "Sister Shi, this is for your family." This house was a double-story with a total of 5 rooms, which was enough for Lu Chen's family to live in. Lu Shi giggled and said, "I won't live here and my mother won't live in the capital. But Lu Chan needs a good house, so I'll let him sign this contract." If at the beginning, Lu Shi still had a little repulsion for Chen Feier, then now she really regarded the latter as her sister-in-law, so she naturally wouldn't interfere with the couple's happy life. Chen Feier smiled happily. What she was most afraid of was that Lu Chan would lose his temper and abandon her intentions. Now she didn't have to worry about it. After all, this house was for 2 people to live in. Lu Chan raised his hands in surrender. "Well, I'll sign it. Let's get down to business." Speaking of business, Chen Feier also had something to say. "Let's go to Flying Stone Records. Big Brother Lin wants to meet with us and talk about how to do my new album." Chen Feier's new album was produced by Flying Stone Records, supervised by Lin Jijie himself, and invited many well-known songwriters and arrangers in the circle to join in order to create a successful transformational work. This album was very important to Chen Feier, and Flying Stone Records did not dare to neglect it in the slightest. If it was done badly, it would really smash their own brand. Therefore, the lineup behind the scenes was quite strong. But for both sides, the key to this album was not only Chen Feier, but also Lu Chan. Chen Feier's ambition was very big. Success in sales alone could not satisfy her. What she expected was to create a real classic and complete a gorgeous turn. In this way, the 3 songs originally invited to Lu Chan were not enough, and she needed more fine works. It should be known that all the songs in Lu Chan's album, You Who Sat Next to Me, have been on the original music chart. Except for Lu Chan, I'm afraid no one else can help Chen Feier fulfill her wish. Because of the recording studio, Lu Chan wanted to talk to Lin Jijia, and now it was just the right time. Let's go. So the two left Lu Chan's studio together and drove to Flying Stone Records. Chapter 309. After the 8th day of the first lunar month, big and small companies in Beijing have opened for business. Of course, Flying Stone Records was no exception. But the Celebrate the Spring Festival banner was still hung on the porch on the ground floor of the building. A row of long red lanterns still exuded the festive atmosphere of the new year, and the ground was still red from the explosion of firecrackers. Lu Chan and Chen Feier came together, and Lin Jijia and a vice president of Flying Stone Records greeted them at the door in person. Such a courtesy made Lu Chan secretly feel strange. He and Chen Feier and Lin Jijia were friends. The two sides often came to Flying Stone Records and were very familiar with each other. Moreover, it wasn't the first or second time that they came to Flying Stone Records. Even if Lu Chen's status has improved a lot now, there's no need to be so formal and grand, right? Must there be a request for courtesy? Lu Chen thought in his heart and asked with a smile. Big brother Lin, why are you so polite? I'll be embarrassed to visit next time. Chen Feier also said with a smile. Yes, big brother Lin is too polite. Lin Jijia laughed and said, You're welcome, you're welcome. You two are the first group of distinguished guests this year. Of course it should be grand. I haven't congratulated Lu Chen on winning the Best Newcomer and Best Composition awards. It's a pity that it's not now. As the music director of Flying Stone Records, Lin Jijia was of course eligible to participate in the Asian Chinese Music Chart Award ceremony, but he just came back from abroad yesterday, so he couldn't catch up with the party. Of course it was not too late to send congratulations now. Lu Chen said with a smile. Thank you. The group of people chatted and laughed and came to the conference room of Flying Stone Records. Because Chen Feier had been notified in advance, Flying Stone Records was already ready. Many of the key members of the record company were already sitting in the conference room, and the LCD TV on the wall also showed the words, Chen Feier's new album, Woman Flower Production Seminar. Seeing Lu Chan, Chen Feier and others coming in, these elites of Flying Stone Records got up to greet them. Flying Stone Records attaches great importance to Chen Feier's transformational work, and strives to make a good start in 2016. Therefore, they have formed a capable force headed by Lin Jijia to be responsible for the production and distribution of the new album. Woman Flower was the name of the new album. This song was tailor-made by Lu Chan for Chen Feier, and it was also the title song of the album. According to the plan, the music video would be shot next week for pre-promotion. Today's small meeting was to discuss the production, publicity and other work of the album. Because Chen Feier has his own independent studio, and the new album was outsourced to Flying Stone Records, there must be a lot of cooperation problems. In addition, Lu Chan had joined the team, so all aspects needed to be coordinated. In addition to Lu Chan, Chen Feier and Lin Jijia, there were also the producers, songwriters, arrangers, recording studio, publicity and so on of Flying Stone Records. The meeting lasted for almost 2 hours before it ended, and the atmosphere was friendly and warm. Lu Chan didn't speak much, but no one dared to ignore his existence. He alone was responsible for the creation of half of the album, and he was also responsible for the co-arrangement and supervision, which was even more important than Lin Jijia. After the meeting, Lin Jijia took Lu Chan and Chen Feier to his office. The music director of Flying Stone Records personally made coffee for the two of them. The coffee he used was excellent, with a rich and mellow taste. The strange thing was that there was not much bitterness, and it tasted particularly smooth. Although Lu Chan was not an expert in tasting coffee, he could taste the extraordinariness. In contrast, Chen Feier was more knowledgeable. After taking a few sips, she was quite moved. Big brother Lin, is this authentic Blue Mountain coffee? Lin Jijie said with a smile. Yes, I just brought back Blue Mountain coffee from Japan. There are only 2 pounds. If you like it, take 1 pound back when you leave. Blue Mountain coffee was one of the best coffee in the world, but it was also the most counterfeited coffee brand. In China, it was ruined like pearl milk tea. In any city, you could casually walk into a coffee shop, and you could order a cup of so-called Blue Mountain coffee that cost dozens of yuan. In fact, the annual output of this kind of coffee from Blue Mountain in Jamaica does not exceed 100 tons, and most of it is supplied to European and American countries, and there are very few domestic imports. Because the Japanese have invested a lot in the industrial chain of Blue Mountain coffee, they have obtained a lot of market share, so authentic Blue Mountain coffee can still be bought in Japan, but the price has been hyped very much. 1 pound. Chun Fair pursed her lips and said with a smile, Big Brother Lin is too polite. If you have something to say, just say it. As smart as she was, how could she not see that Lin Jijie had something to ask of her? So she was extraordinarily polite. Sure enough, I can't hide it from Fair. Lin Jijie was not embarrassed to be seen through. He said with a smile, In fact, it's not my business. I just want to ask Lu Chun, do you have any plans to shoot a new TV series this year? Lu Chun suddenly understood that Flying Stone Records was also eyeing his new play. The great success of Autumn in My Heart made Lu Chun a hot figure in the film and television circle in just a few months. The 20-episode urban romance drama premiered on Hygiene Satellite TV and created the highest ratings record of the same type of TV series in recent years, and made many newcomers, including Lu Chun himself, popular. For example, Hu Yang, who played the first male supporting role of Han Taishi, and Zhang Liwei, who played the first female supporting role of Cui Xinai, were both artists who had debuted for a long time. But before the broadcast of Autumn in My Heart, how many people had heard of the names of these two? Now Hu Yang's commercial performance started at 200,000 yuan, and the brand endorsement was at least 3 million yuan. His value had skyrocketed dozens of times, and he was busy with advertisements, which made many of his peers envious and jealous. There were also Zhang Juanji and Yi Mingmei, who played the role of Juanqi and Eunhee when they were young, who also became famous overnight. As for Chanda Brothers Pictures, which invested in the filming of Autumn in My Heart, it was even more prosperous. The success of Autumn in My Heart was really a miracle. It had a great influence in and out of the circle, and the ratings of the first episode of the replay on Beijing television and Zhudong satellite TV both exceeded 1%, which was enough to prove that the popularity of the show had not diminished. Under such circumstances, Lu Chen's new play this year has become one of the focuses of attention in the circle. Many people in the industry think that Lu Chen is likely to shoot the second part of Autumn in My Heart. After the new year, the phones of Lu Xi and Lu Chen's studio were almost blown up by people. There was an endless stream of people who came to the door to seek cooperation and recommend artists. Even many stars also inquired about the news through various channels. Even Chen Fair was harassed a lot because of this. Her relationship with Lu Chan was not a secret in the circle. It was normal for Flying Stone Records to also come to join in the fun. Lu Chan said, Big Brother Lin, since you want to ask me, shouldn't this coffee be given to me? Of course Lu Chan was joking. As a result, Lin Jijie gave him a mocking look. Is there any difference between giving it to Chen Fair and giving it to you? Is there? Well, there is no difference. Lu Chan sighed and said, The plan is to start preparing next month. If everything goes well, filming will probably start in April. Lin Jijie's eyes suddenly lit up. Is it the second part of Autumn in My Heart? Lu Chan shook his head. No, I won't make a sequel to this play. I have an idea for a new play. Even Chen Fair was interested. What's the content of the story? Lu Chan told her about the new play, but it didn't involve specific things, such as the outline of the story. Lu Chan said with a smile, It's a secret for the time being, but the play will not be a tragedy again. You are still the heroine. Chen Fair gave him a white look, but her heart was sweet and happy. Due to unforeseen consequences, Lu Chan and Chen Fei haven't made their relationship public for the time being, but they don't intend to hide it for a long time. The best way is to let fans accept their relationship through this subtle influence. Tian, that's right. After Autumn in My Heart was broadcasted, in the eyes of many fans, the two were the best CP combination. Your career is getting bigger and bigger. Lin Jijie sighed heartily. As one of the 4 judges of Singing China, he could be said to have watched Lu Chan become famous all the way to the present. The music director of Flying Stone Records said, "Your sister told me that you intend to change the studio's location?" Lu Chan replied frankly, "Yes, I merged a music studio and am going to build a high-specification recording studio. The place I rented now is too small. If there is a suitable place here, it would be best. A man who makes music should have his own recording studio," Lin Jijie said with a smile. "That's what my mentor once told me. I really envy you. You're also very lucky. I know a friend who has opened a large art studio here. Now he intends to transfer half of the site. The sublease fee is not cheap, but it's enough to accommodate your new studio. Is this good news?" Lu Chun was surprised. Really? He didn't expect to be able to take root in the art park. The property here was too popular, and there was no spare space at all, so even if he shared it with others it would be lucky. Lin Jijie is a professional. If he says it's enough, it must be enough. Lin Jijie nodded. Of course it's true. It's also a coincidence that my friend needs money recently. Otherwise, he would never be willing to divide half of his territory. There's no time like the present. Since you're here today, I'll bring you over to talk to him now. Lu Chun was grateful. Thank you, big brother Lin. I really troubled you. He was secretly admiring in his heart. Lin Jijie just asked him if he had any plans to shoot a new drama. After asking, he no longer said what he thought but first proposed to help. In this way, once the matchmaking was successful, he would owe him a favor. Lin Jijie's way of dealing with people was very quiet, which was worth learning. Of course, Lu Chun himself was also very happy, and deeply felt the importance of networking. Without Lin Jijie, if others wanted to sublease the venue, he wouldn't even get the news, let alone talk about it. Chapter 310. Lin Jijie's friend Yu Jizhong opened an art studio in the New Era Art Park. Yu Jizhong's studio was not far from the headquarters of Flying Stone Records, and it was only a 5-minute walk away. It was located in a unique building composed of large areas of glass and steel frames, separated by a green belt and an art square. The buildings in the New Era Art Park were very distinctive. There were basically no high-rise buildings here. Most of the buildings were only 2 or 3 stories high, and Yu Jizhong's studio was no exception. On the first floor, except for the front desk, most of the space was given over to the exhibition hall for displaying art. The main exhibits included oil paintings, small sculptures, photographic works, and modern art. Upstairs, the second floor was the art workshop, including a painting room, a sculpture room, an office, and so on. Lu Chun met Yu Jizhong in the painting room. The artist appeared to be in his 40s or 50s. He wore a set of work clothes stained with oil paint. He was stocky with a large face, thick eyebrows, and bright eyes. He had the typical messy hair and beard of an artist. Lin Jijie introduced him to the two. Lu Chun, this is Yu Jizhong, teacher Yu, a real artist. Lu Chun immediately reached out and said, "Hello, teacher Yu. I've heard a lot about you." In fact, he didn't know the other party at all, nor had he heard of this person's name. It was nothing more than a polite greeting. This is Lu Chun, a musician who has his own studio. Chun Fair had gone back early, so only Lu Chun came with Lin Jijie. Yu Jizhong probably didn't watch entertainment news. He looked at Lu Chun calmly, and probably didn't know Lu Chun. He shook hands with the latter indifferently and said, "Hello," Lin Jijie said with a smile. "Old Yu, Lu Chun wants to rent your land. You have to give me some face." Yu Jizhong's face finally showed a smile. "Let's talk in my office." With Lin Jijie's matchmaking, Yu Jizhong still gave him quite a lot of face. He changed into a clean set of clothes and asked his assistant to bring him tea. They chatted like friends in the office. The building occupied by Yu Jizhong's studio alone had a usable area of about 1,800 square meters. Yu Jizhong could at most allocate 1,000 square meters of space to make it a shared rental. Of course, the subletting fee was not small. According to the artist, as long as he released the news, there would be people willing to rent it at a high price. This location was considered very good in the entire art park. Since Lu Chun was Lin Jijie's friend, he was willing to give Lu Chun priority. But there was a condition. "If you're involved in music, you can't disturb us. Otherwise, we won't be able to negotiate no matter how high the price is." Lu Chen smiled and said, "That's easy. When I redecorate the place, I promise to make sure that it's soundproof." The soundproofing of the recording studio was the best, and there was no noise problem. The only trouble was the practice room, but as long as the decoration was in place, it would definitely not affect the neighbors. The office was also afraid of noise. Yu Jizhong's words proved that this matter was basically not a big problem. As for the subletting price, it needed to be discussed by both sides again. It couldn't be settled in a few words. In general, it was very smooth. The communication between both sides was quite pleasant. Yu Jizhong didn't have the strange temper of an artist. But when it was time to say goodbye, he suddenly seemed to think of something and asked, "Lu Chun, did you write a song called Blue Lotus?" Lu Chun was stunned. "Yes." Yu Jizhong nodded and said, "I've heard it. It's a very good song." When Lu Chun returned to the studio, it was almost dark. It was already off work, and there was no one in the office, but the manager's room was still lit. He went to have a look and found that She was still working in front of the computer, and her fingers were typing quickly on the keyboard. Lu Chun said, "Sister, it's late. Let's go to dinner together." She turned her head and asked, "Where's Fei?" Lu Chun said, "She has other things to do. By the way, the new studio has been found. I went to see it in the afternoon. It's very suitable. You have to go and talk to them about the rent tomorrow." Shi was surprised. "So fast? Did Director Lin help?" Lu Chun nodded. "Yes, she really helped a lot this time. I owe her a big favor." He said, "Let's go. We'll talk while eating." "Don't worry." Shi held the mouse and opened a web page and said, "Take a look at this first." "What?" Lu Chun walked over curiously and found that Shi had opened his personal tieba. Although his tieba was established by fans and netizens, Lu Chun's studio also had management rights after passing the qualification certification. Therefore, it was semi-official, and it was also within the scope of Shi's work. In the future, when Lu Chun's studio moved and expanded, the work in this area would definitely be separated and handled by someone else. In his tieba, the top page was marked in red, and it was a post about someone who had been skinned. Lu Chun quickly browsed through the post and found that the person who was skinned was a guy with the ID, Heavy Metal Element. This person was not a fan member of Lu Chen's tieba, but he had made many comments in the tieba. The posts of Heavy Metal Element were basically attacks. It was very common for some people to like and dislike stars and idols. This reflected on the internet. If there were real fans, there would naturally be haters. The tieba would not be full of praises. Under normal circumstances, as long as there were no bad situations, such as slanderous words, personal attacks, or rumors, the tieba administrator would not randomly delete posts and retain a certain amount of dissident voices. But last night, when Lu Chun won the Best Newcomer award and the fans in the tieba celebrated, this Heavy Metal Element jumped out and said strange things. He also bet with others that Lu Chun could not win the Best Composition award. In the end, after being slapped in the face, he pretended to be dead, which completely angered many fans. Therefore, some experienced and skilled fans started to track down Heavy Metal Element, wanting to find out his true identity. By tracking the traces left by Heavy Metal Element in the tieba, they really did find something. This Heavy Metal Element's true identity turned out to be Ling Xiaoxiao's assistant. Ling Xiaoxiao could be considered Lu Chen's old enemy. The grudge between the two could be traced back to when Lu Chun had just debuted. However, at that time, the two could be said to be on the same starting line. Now, they were on completely different levels. Ling Xiaoxiao's assistant actually ran to Lu Chen's tieba to stir up trouble. It was both surprising and not that unbelievable. The technical fans found a very complete chain of evidence, and the final direction was clear and unmistakable. It could be considered a very successful human flesh operation, so it was published on the tieba to denounce it. In this pinned post, someone also pointed out that it was very likely that Ling Xiaoxiao used his assistant's account to scold Lu Chun. What a clown! After reading the post, Lu Chun could not help but shake his head, feeling that it was very funny. He said, "Don't worry about it, let's go eat." In Lu Chen's heart, this trivial matter was really not as important as him eating with his sister. Ling Xiaoxiao? He had almost forgotten this name. Chapter 311. Lu Chen's fan group was first established when he was a host of Wealthy Most of the groups that like to watch live broadcasts on the internet are otaku. Although the general public opinion of otaku is not high, they are young, single, like games, have been on the internet for a long time, lack of social work experience, and so on. But there are also strong otaku, and that is technical otaku. Perhaps in reality, technical otaku do not even have the ability to kill a chicken, but in the internet world, there is no shortage of people who can call the wind and summon the rain. Heavy Metal Element obviously underestimated the power of Lu Chen's fan group. He thought that no one would recognize him with a sock puppet. As a result, his true identity was found out. The real name of Heavy Metal Element is Gavin Gavin. He is Ling Xiaoxiao's latest assistant. Technogeeks follow the vine to the melon through various internet clues and dig out his identity and origin. With conclusive evidence, Lu Chen's fans immediately bombarded Ling Xiaoxiao's blog and post bar. Some people even made human flesh pictures and posted them on the internet. They took screenshots of all the remarks of Heavy Metal Element that ridiculed and attacked Lu Chen and used them as a weapon to slap Ling Xiaoxiao's face. Our Lu Chen won 2 big awards. Someone must be so jealous that his teeth fell off, right? Gee, I'm so jealous of him. There are so many villains in the entertainment industry. If you have the guts, come with me. What's the use of your assistant's sock puppet? Filthy, filthy, and shameless. I hate this kind of sissy who backstabs people the most. People drifting in Jianghu. How can they not be stabbed? Fighting in the circle is simply commonplace. There are many star artists who fight each other on the internet, but few people like Ling Xiaoxiao run to Lu Chen's post bar to say sour words. Tian, not bad. That's right. Although the ID belongs to Ling Xiaoxiao's assistant Gavin, most people believe that it was Ling Xiaoxiao who posted it himself. They also listed the evidence, common words in the post, writing habits, and so on. Originally, it was not a big deal to use a sock puppet to make sarcastic remarks. Even saints would ridicule them. However, it would be very awkward to be exposed. When Lu Chen and Lu Xi went to eat, the latter also received several interview calls from the media. The noses of the entertainment reporters were extremely sensitive. When the storm started to blow up on the internet, they acted immediately. They wanted to ask for Lu Chen's opinion. It would be best if they could fiercely rebuke Ling Xiaoxiao. That way the gossip would be easy to write. Celebrities quarreling had always been entertainment reporters' favorite. What's more, one side was the current hot Lu Chen. Unfortunately, Lu Xi didn't give them a chance. No matter which website or newspaper reporter called, she politely replied to them. Never heard of such a thing, no comment. Lu Chen is busy with work. After being Lu Chen's agent for more than half a year, Lu Xi was really trained. She handled these reporters skillfully and easily on the phone, not revealing the slightest bit of information. Of course, if the reporters insisted on writing nonsense, there was nothing they could do about it. Their low moral integrity could make people dumbfounded. It wasn't until they sat down in a small private room in the restaurant that Lu Xi's phone finally stopped ringing. Lu Chen flipped through the menu and asked his sister, "What do you want to eat tonight? Do you want a filet mignon?" "I don't want to eat meat," Lu Xi said with lingering fear. "I've gained a few pounds. Let's have a pot of paella. The food here is pretty good." Lu Chen really wanted to say that paella was also very nutritious, but after thinking about it, he didn't want to pressure his sister. In the end, he had just picked 2 dishes when Lu Xi's phone rang again. Lu Chen was annoyed. "It's dinner time. Turn off your phone." Any success had a price. The price of being a star idol was losing a lot of ordinary people's happiness. Life and work were basically inseparable, and there was not much free time and space. He was still fine. He had already changed his mobile phone, and only his family and friends could be contacted. Lu Xi was miserable. She was on the phone all day long, and she couldn't even have a peaceful meal. This was something that couldn't be helped. If no one really called, it could only mean that she was completely out of luck. Even so, those fly-like entertainment reporters were still very annoying. "Hello, Lu Chen Studio." Lu Xi put the phone to her ear and raised her right index finger to Lu Chen, indicating that she would take the last call. She said a few words to the person on the phone, and her expression became serious. Seeing this, Lu Chen couldn't help but put down the menu in his hand. After chatting with the other party for a while, Lu Xi ended the call. She shook her phone and asked with a smile, "Guess who called us?" Lu Chun sweated. How can I guess? It should be a good thing. He knew it just by looking at Lu Xi's expression. She even said things like welcome and see you tomorrow to the other party. It was most likely a good thing had come knocking. Lu Xi smiled and said, the representative of Korea's SPG Entertainment Company in China. He wants to buy the copyright of Autumn in My Heart. Koreans? Lu Chun was surprised. That was really a good thing. The domestic entertainment industry began to develop rapidly at the end of the last century. Foreign media and entertainment companies had their eyes on this huge market, and a large number of cultural products such as movies, TV series, music, and so on were imported, forming a great impact. Especially in Korea, which was a close neighbor of the mainland, the promotion of the cultural industry was great. The Korean wave formed by Korean dramas and groups swept through most of China, leaving a deep mark in the domestic entertainment industry. For example, the popular little fresh meats in the entertainment industry were Korean pop idols. There was also the trainee system, the manager system, and so on. Many of them copied the routines and rules of Korea. In recent years, many domestic artists had gone to Korea for training, and a large number of Korean stars came to China to make money. Faced with such a situation, the insightful people in the industry were shouting loudly, and even proposed to boycott the Korean wave. In general, the peak of the Korean wave was basically over. The domestic entertainment industry's ability to imitate and learn was extremely strong. After learning from others, they would naturally have to show off their skills and not let the benefits flow out for nothing. However, that could only be regarded as consolidating the domestic base. Domestic stars had very little influence in Korea, and it was difficult for domestic movies and TV series to be introduced to Korea. The latter market was narrow and closed, with a strong sense of xenophobia. The imported films that had decent ratings in Korea were basically well-produced documentaries and historical films. SPG Entertainment was a large artist planning and management company in South Korea. It was one of the top 3 companies in the industry in terms of scale and strength. It had promoted its HOPSC and other groups to China and had many master-level songwriters and choreographers. Speaking of SPG Entertainment, there was no one in the domestic entertainment industry who did not know of it. Its representative in China actually came to visit in person, wanting to buy the copyright of Autumn in My Heart. If the news got out, it would not be a problem for it to make the entertainment headlines. Returning to Japan and Korea was the dream of many people in the industry. When Lu Chun first created Autumn in My Heart, he had considered the possibility of the series being exported to Korea in advance. That was because in his dream world, the original Autumn was one of the most classic Korean dramas. That was why he did not even change the names of the characters in the series, and that was the hidden ambition. He did not talk about principles, nor did he talk about winning glory for the country. If Autumn in My Heart could enter the Korean market, then he could use this springboard to export it to Japan, and then enter the Southeast Asian market. In other words, the Korean market was the best touchstone. Once it was successful, it would represent vast benefits. Therefore, when he heard this news, Lu Chun was really happy. SPG, KG, and Han-E, the 3 major Korean entertainment companies, all had offices in Beijing. SPG Entertainment was the first to come knocking. If it did not come, then Lu Chun could only consider using Chun Fei-er's connections to contact Korea's KGS TV station. But in this way, he would be in a passive position in the negotiations. Asking for help and being asked were 2 completely different things. Lu Xi smiled and said, I have already made an appointment with them. They will come over at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Lu Chun nodded and said, let's talk about it. After dinner, Lu Chun sent Lu Xi back to her place, and then returned to his apartment. He called Chun Fei. Chun Fei was one of the few celebrities in China who had a certain level of fame and influence in Korea. She had participated in many Sino-Korean music festivals organized by KGS TV station, and knew a lot about the situation there. As expected, when Lu Chun mentioned SPD, Chun Fei immediately smiled and said, I know. SPG's representative in China is Park Yong-ho. He has been in China for almost 10 years, and is a real China expert. Lu Chun's heart skipped a beat, and he asked, what's his personality like? Tomorrow's meeting would definitely involve specific negotiations. Although he really hoped to be able to broadcast Autumn in My Heart in Korea, He would not sign a contract that could only be described as humiliating. In the past, in order to promote their works in Japan and Korea, the contracts they signed were almost free, and they even proudly promoted their works in foreign markets. In the end, it was exposed and they lost face. Autumn in My Heart had to be sold and not sold cheaply. Chan Fayer said, I have dealt with him a few times and I have heard some things. This park representative is very familiar with the situation in our country. He has a strong personality, and he can stand his ground and not waver. After listening to Chan Fayer's description, Lu Chan felt a little troubled. That person was obviously not an easy person to negotiate with. Chan Fayer said again, Park Yung-ho has a very good eye. Otherwise he wouldn't have been in this position for so many years. Since he has his eyes on our TV series, we can still negotiate. Good luck, young man. Lu Chan couldn't help but laugh. He put aside the topic and continued to talk sweet words to Chan Fayer for more than 10 minutes. In the end, Chan Fayer was so moved that she almost ran over. Chapter 312. Pu Zhenghao's visit was very low-key. The representative of South Korea's SPG Entertainment Company in China only brought one assistant, and he came directly to visit. He was about 40 years old, slender and solemn. A pair of narrow eyes hidden behind black-rimmed glasses seemed to flash when he blinked, giving people the impression that he was shrewd and strong. A very difficult person to talk to. Combined with the information he heard from Chan Fayer last night, Lu Chan made an intuitive judgment in his heart. Of course, on the surface, he was very polite and enthusiastic. Hello, Mr. Park. Welcome to my studio. Pu Zhenghao held Lu Chan's hand, and a faint smile appeared on his serious face. I've heard a lot about Mr. Lu Chan. Please forgive me for disturbing you. His Chinese was perfect. Apart from being a little stiff, it was hard to tell that he was Korean. Lu Shi smiled and said, Mr. Park is too polite. Please come in and talk. This is. Pu Zhenghao was a little surprised, and his eyes fell on Lu Shi. Lu Chan introduced. This is my agent and my sister Lu Shi. It's Miss Lu Shi. Pu Zhenghao suddenly understood. He waved to the assistant next to him, and the latter immediately handed over a beautifully packaged box. It's our first time meeting. This is a small gift. Please accept it, Miss Lu Shi. Lu Shi was stunned, but she still accepted the gift. Thank you. Both parties sat down in the reception room, and Xiao Mei served the guests the tea that had been brewed. Pu Zhenghao was not in a hurry to get down to business. Instead, he chatted with Lu Chan and Lu Shi. This was actually a negotiation technique. Through small talk, one could make people relax their vigilance, and then judge the other party's temper and even hobbies. Then, one could use a targeted negotiation strategy. Although Pu Zhenghao looked serious when he came in, he talked about the interesting anecdotes in the entertainment industry. He also praised Lu Chen's original talent and thought that Lu Chen deserved to win the Best Newcomer and Best Composer of the Asian Chinese Top Songs chart. Pu Zhenghao also attended the award ceremony of the Asian Chinese Music Chart and saw Lu Chen go on the stage to receive the award. Through this exchange, the two parties went from strangers to familiarizing themselves with each other. The atmosphere of the conversation was relaxed and warm. Although Lu Chan had always been wary of Pu Yung-ho, he had to admit that this middle-aged Korean was quite capable. His speech and mannerisms were impeccable. After talking about the Golden Melody Awards ceremony, Pu Zhenghao talked about Autumn in My Heart. This is the best TV series I've seen this year. The representative from South Korea's SPG Entertainment was not stingy with his praises. Whether it's the plot, the graphics, or the soundtrack, they are all top-notch. I really hope that this drama can be imported to South Korea and be seen by our domestic audience. That's why I'm here. Speaking of this, Pu Zhenghao looked extremely confident. Our SPG Entertainment has a good cooperative relationship with KBS and MBC. KBS and MBC were the number 1 and number 2 TV stations in South Korea. No matter which TV station Autumn in My Heart appeared on, it would be a great success. Different from China, South Korean audiences like to watch variety shows and TV series the most. Moreover, their young people were also used to watching these two shows on TV, unlike China, which had two major markets, the internet and the screen. South Korea's national TV series were phenomenal TV series. The ratings could even reach more than 50%, which was unimaginable in China now. It was about the same 20 to 30 years ago. To be honest, Pu Jinghao's attitude surprised Lu Chen and Lu Shi. As the saying goes, the buyer is the one who dislikes the goods. During negotiations, it was most common to deliberately lower the evaluation of the other party's goods. Very few people would praise the other party first. However, when it came to the specific terms, both of them realized that they were too naive. Pu Jinghao's copyright fee for Autumn in My Heart was 800 million won. It sounded like a huge sum, but in fact it was less than 5 million in domestic currency. As an imported TV series, SPG Entertainment was a middleman. They would definitely make a profit if they sold it to the TV station. Considering the difficulty of entering the South Korean market, this price was really not bad. In the past, there was a large domestic film and television company that invested over 100 million to shoot a 45-episode historical drama. It was sold to South Korea for only 500 million won. Later, it was revealed that the middleman's rebate was as high as 200 million. Autumn in My Heart only had 20 episodes. Even if it was very popular in China, it was definitely worth publicizing to be able to sell it to South Korea at such a price. However, there were conditions. Pu Jinghao also had his eyes on Lu Chen's new TV series this year and made a request to invest. His appetite was not small. Logically speaking, it was a good thing to have investment, but it also depended on the situation. The super high ratings of Autumn in My Heart and the impact it has caused in the domestic film and TV market have made Lu Chen's new drama a hotcake in the eyes of countless people. There are a lot of people rushing to send money, and there is no worry about investors at all. With Autumn in My Heart as the bottom, as long as the new TV series wasn't too bad, with just Lu Chen as the main character, profits were inevitable. There was no need to worry about losing money at all. Moreover, once they could invest in it, they would have the right to speak about the actors' roles, which was also a great benefit. SPG Entertainment also trained artists in China and had also participated in the production of many films and variety shows. They deeply understood the doorway. Today, they sent Pu Jinghao to Lu Chen's studio to discuss the introduction of Autumn in My Heart. The drunkard had ulterior motives. Regarding Pu Jinghao's request, Lu Chen and Lu Shi looked at each other. They couldn't agree to such a condition. With the success of Autumn in My Heart, Lu Chen was now full of confidence. He didn't mind bringing in investors in the new TV series, but SPG Entertainment wasn't a good choice. Lu Chen knew very well that compared to a big company like SPG Entertainment, even if it was a foreign company, his own studio was at a clear disadvantage. Once they brought in the other party's investment, it was very likely that they would be held back. Most importantly, his current development was first and foremost based in China. It was good to be able to open up the Korean market, but it would be stupid if he lost his own interests because of this. After thinking about it, Lu Chen said to Pu Jinghao, "Mr. Park, I'm sorry, but I can't agree to this condition." Lu Chen's straightforward refusal made Pu Jinghao unable to help, revealing a look of astonishment. He came full of confidence, believing that he would definitely be able to convince Lu Chen. SPG's investment and the temptation of bringing in Korea. Who could resist it? In the end, he never expected Lu Chen to refuse so decisively. Chapter 313. Business negotiations were not child's play, especially when it involved high interests. It often took a battle of wits and courage to reach a final compromise or give up. SPG Entertainment, or rather Pu Jinghao, was sincere about importing Autumn in My Heart to South Korea. However, his appetite was too big for Lu Chen to accept. However, the specific conditions could be discussed. Pu Jinghao's first visit was obviously more to test the waters. Of course, he would be very satisfied if they could negotiate directly. However, Lu Chen's firm attitude towards his own interests had hit a wall. If it was the executives of other Japanese and Korean entertainment companies, they might be very unhappy. Many of them were used to being high and mighty, and had a high attitude towards the domestic entertainment industry. They thought that they could casually throw out something and it would attract a group of people to fight over it. Pu Jinghao was different. He had settled down and worked in China for more than 10 years. He was well versed in China's culture and had a deep understanding of the domestic entertainment industry. Therefore, he knew very well about Lu Chen's strength. In the eyes of the representative of SPG Entertainment's China office, Lu Chen was China's Kim Hyun Ping. Kim Hyun-ping was the most famous artist in South Korea from 2000 to 2010. He had amazing talent and had composed many classic music works. Moreover, he was tall and handsome. The television dramas and movies he had filmed had caused a sensation and had a wide influence throughout Asia. However, 6 years ago, Kim Hyun-ping was not satisfied with the South Korean entertainment industry. He also looked down on the China market and ambitiously went to Hollywood. In the end, he did not make a name for himself there for a few years and became a special supporting role set up by the American film company for the Asian market. He lost a lot of popularity in South Korea. Lu Chun was very similar to Kim Hyun-ping, who had just debuted. They were both talent shows. They were both tall and handsome, both talented, both outstanding musicians, and both young and energetic. Compared to the narrow and competitive market in South Korea, China's entertainment market was too big. It was like a vast ocean that could accommodate the growth of a dragon. Therefore, as long as Lu Chun did not court death, his development potential was limitless. SPG Entertainment being able to establish a good relationship with such a person was equivalent to investing in a stock with high potential. That was why Pu Young-ho offered a high price of 800 million won to purchase Blue in the first round of negotiations to show his sincerity. The conditions he added later were more of a test. It didn't matter if they couldn't come to an agreement. As long as they didn't fall out with each other, they could continue to negotiate. The so-called bottom line was tested step by step like this. It was precisely with such a position that the negotiations between the two sides were relatively harmonious, and there was no situation of swords being drawn. Pu Jenghao sat in Lu Chun's studio for 2 hours before leaving. After sending off the representative of SPG Entertainment's China office, Lu Chun felt as if he had just finished a battle. He was a little tired. Chun Feier's understanding of Pu Jenghao was still too simple. This old fox was really hard to deal with. His character was tough, but it wasn't just tough. There was a hint of gentleness in his toughness that hid needles in silk floss. Lu Chun said to Lu Shi, "If there's a chance in the future, I want to poach him." Lu Shi was speechless. She had been Lu Chen's agent for more than half a year, and she knew more and more about the entertainment industry. So she knew very well that a character like Pu Jenghao was not someone her studio could afford to poach. The domestic entertainment industry was greatly affected by South Korea. Many big companies also poached people from their South Korean counterparts, such as arrangers, choreographers, producers, directors, etc., and there were artists directly. But in general, those who could be poached were basically second or third-rate characters. Pu Jenghao was the representative of SPG Entertainment's China office, a real high-level figure. If he wanted to change his tune, he would only choose a big company like Flying Stone Records. How could he come to Lu Chun's studio? Lu Chen's idea was too naive. Of course, Lu Chun saw Lu Shi's disapproval. He didn't explain in detail because now was not the time. It was true that Pu Jenghao was a senior executive of SPG Entertainment, but this senior executive of SPG was a marginalized figure. He worked hard to expand the market in China. He had worked hard even if he had no credit, but his position had never been moved. Because Pu Jenghao was not a direct descendant of the current chairman of SPG, but a former confidant. South Korea's corporate system was learned from Japan. When South Korea's economy took off in the 1980s and 1990s, it played a very important role, giving birth to more than a dozen giant companies, such as the famous Samsung. But since entering the new century, with the rapid development of new industries, South Korea's corporate system has been severely impacted by the new culture. The rigid bureaucratic internal management and the promotion path based on seniority, coupled with the power struggle at the top, have caused many companies to close down or face difficult predicaments. SPG was one of the top entertainment companies in South Korea. It had not been established for a long time, and it was also a family-run enterprise. After the chairman who originally appreciated Pu Jenghao abdicated, he was pressed down in SPG's China office. In fact, in terms of contributions, Pu Jenghao was fully qualified to return to South Korea to be promoted to a higher position. In addition, Pu Jenghao was not a pure Korean. His father was a northeastern Korean who had immigrated to South Korea in his early years. This insider information was revealed to Lu Chun by Chunfa. She had specially inquired about it from an insider, and it was considered an open secret in a certain circle. Many people did not believe that Pu Zhenghao would stay at SPG forever, but so far he had not shown any signs of leaving SPG. Through the previous conversation, Lu Chan had the most intuitive impression of Pu Zhenghao and admired his shrewdness. If such a person who was proficient in Chinese and Korean could be recruited, the benefits were self-evident, especially since Lu Chan had always had the ambition to look to the Asian market. Of course, Lu Chan's studio was still too weak now, and it was a little unrealistic to covet a talent like Pu Zhenghao, but opportunities were always given to those who were prepared. Lu Chan said, "Sister, we must negotiate for the location of the art park. It doesn't matter if the price is high." Setting up roots in the art park was a very important step for the studio to expand. It was not just a matter of a larger area, but the most important thing was the location and environment, which were very suitable for the studio's survival and development. Lu Shi nodded. She had already arranged to talk with Yu Jizhong in the afternoon. When it came to the specific contract negotiations, Lu Chan did not participate. However, the subletting went smoothly. Lu Chan brought Chen Xian over to talk with Yu Jizhong for the whole afternoon, and they signed the official contract. The New Era Art Center in Beijing, which was also known as the Art Park, was completed in 2001. The properties there were limited uses, and some of them had been bought out by companies, while the rest were for rent. The place of Yu Jizhong's art studio was rented from the management committee of the art center, but it was a long-term contract, and he had the priority to renew it. Now he was transferring part of the lease to Lu Chan. This was in line with the rules. As long as it did not exceed the limited scope of business, the management committee of the art park allowed subletting. However, the price of Yu Jizhong's original lease was definitely different from the current one. After signing the contract, Lu Shi made a budget that night, calculating the cost of moving the studio. The rent, decoration, recording studio construction, etc., would cost at least 15 million yuan. Then he was entrusting Li Mubai to help him approve the charity fund. The registered capital of 20 million yuan needed to be spent 10 million yuan, and this part of the money could not be touched according to the regulations. In this way, 25 million yuan would be spent, and a new drama would be released this year. The studio's investment would definitely account for a large proportion, so the money earned by Autumn in My Heart would be far from enough. Lu Shi also specially reminded Lu Chan that he signed the contract of Chan Feier's transfer of the house. Even if he paid off 30 million yuan in 5 years, he still had to pay back 6 million yuan a year. In this way, Lu Chan found that he had become a poor man again, and he owed a lot of debt. Ha ha ha. After listening to Lu Chen's complaints, Chanfer laughed very happily on the phone. Then you should write a few more songs for others and then you can earn back the money. As a representative of the new generation of domestic singer-songwriters, and also won 2 awards in the Asian Chinese music chart, Lu Chan was definitely a hot figure in the pop music world, and there were many people who wanted to buy songs from him. If Lu Chan could really make up his mind to write songs, it was really not a problem to earn tens of millions of yuan because in his memory, there were thousands of excellent music works. It was just that he never thought of being a song wholesaler, and he would not squander this precious wealth at will. On the one hand, it raised the threshold for song invitations, and on the other hand, it also screened the partners for cooperation. Now Lu Chan Studios' offer to the public was 500,000 yuan for a song, which reached the top level in the industry. This offer scared most people away, and it also caused a lot of discussion in the circle. Chan Feier's teasing came from this. Lu Chan said with a smile, "Don't think about others for the time being. Do your album well first. That's the most important thing." "That's really nice. Do you want me to lend you some money?" A woman who fell in love could not listen to sweet words. Chan Feier's EQ and IQ were both coaxed by these words. "You don't have to worry about that contract. It doesn't matter if you give me money later." If Lu Chan was determined to be a gigolo who lived off a woman, he would definitely be very successful. But he just wanted to put on airs. "No need, I can still do it without writing songs." Of course, Lu Chen's self-confidence was not without reason because as a star, especially a popular star artist, has an important channel to make a lot of money, that is, brand endorsement. And among all the brands that are currently interested in cooperating with Lu Chan, Zhonghua Automobile is undoubtedly the largest. Chapter 314. Lu Chan is very cautious about brand endorsements. Many stars, especially those new artists who have suddenly become popular in recent years, often adopt the strategy of draining the pond to fish when it comes to brand endorsements. They desperately work for notices and advertisements, which is jokingly called double high advertisement. In the circle, the emergence of the double high phenomenon on the one hand stems from the pressure of some entertainment agencies on contracted artists, squeezing out as much profit as possible during the contract period, and not looking for the future. There are also some artists who are willing to do this, because the competition in the entertainment industry is too fierce. Most artists are under great pressure to survive. If they don't work hard to make money when they are popular, what else can they get once they are out of it? So they desperately accept all kinds of advertisements, even those high-risk endorsements. However, artists who are based on long-term development are often very cautious and thoughtful about brand endorsements. Lu Chun listened to Chun Feier's opinion on brand endorsements. Chun Feier is one of the current domestic advertising queens. She endorses domestic and international big brands, with at least tens of millions of endorsement fees a year. She has rich experience in this regard. The advice that Chun Feier provided to Lu Chun was first to choose carefully, such as financial products, medicine and healthcare products, medical and medical equipment, agricultural products such as seeds, pesticides, breeding and so on. It is best not to touch them. The risk of these advertising endorsements is relatively high. Once there is a problem with the product, it will often affect the reputation of the endorser, and even cause trouble in lawsuits. There are not one or two stars who have been sued or stumbled because of careless endorsement. Even Chun Feier almost suffered in this regard. So she is now very careful in choosing advertisements. Naturally, she does not want Lu Chun to repeat the mistakes of others. So far, Lu Chun has mainly endorsed two brands. One is Whale TV, the other is Senki Apparel, and the cooperation between the two has been very successful. To put it bluntly, the benefits that Lu Chun's endorsement bring to the two companies far exceed the remuneration he receives. For this reason, Whale TV and Senki Apparel intend to renew next year, and the new contract will inevitably rise. With the popularity of Autumn in My Heart, the number of brands that came to Lu Chun for advertising cooperation suddenly increased, and the most important one was undoubtedly Zhonghua Automobile. Zhonghua Automobile is one of the oldest and most prestigious domestic automobile brands. Its predecessor can be traced back to 70 years ago. The brand Zhonghua was established with the New China. In the early 1950s, Zhonghua Jeep once drove across the Yalu River with the Liberation Truck, and made great achievements in the war to resist the United States and aid Korea, becoming a well-known brand in China. However, since the reform and opening up in the 1980s, foreign brands of cars have entered the domestic market, and the market share of Zhonghua Motors has shrunk dramatically, almost to the verge of bankruptcy. With the support of the country, this national brand finally survived the most difficult period, and was reborn through the introduction of technology, independent research, and other methods. After Lu Chun's debut, the first car he bought in Beijing was Zhonghua's newly launched X7. This gasoline-electric hybrid urban SUV could be described as cheap and good, and it was currently driven by Lu Xi. And it was precisely the Zhonghua X7 that Lu Chun bought that made Zhonghua Automobile choose him as the new brand spokesperson. At least that's a very important reason. Of course, as a car company with an annual output of tens of billions, Zhonghua Automobile is very cautious in the choice of brand spokesperson. They chose Lu Chun first because the latter's influence among young people is growing. In addition, Lu Chun's image has always been very good since his debut. Lu Chun won the championship of Singing China, which was also a small factor for Zhonghua Automobile to choose him. Then he participated in Beijing TV's National Day Party, and created a positive theme work like, I Love You China. He once bravely saved people regardless of danger, and also raised donations to help fans. Now he is preparing to set up a leukemia charity fund. With all these factors, it's really not a problem to be named one of the top 10 outstanding youths at the provincial and municipal levels. In contrast, how much Lu Chun's solo album sold, and how high the ratings of his TV series were not the key factors. With harsh requirements, the treatment is naturally generous. Zhonghua Automobile offered Lu Chun a 2-year contract of 12 million yuan. Because of the many detailed terms involved, the contract could not be finalized in a day or two. Zhonghua Automobile hoped that Lu Chun could participate in the promotion and publicity activities of their newly launched R-Class station wagon. The specific requirement was to shoot a commercial, and Lu Chan was asked to tailor-make a song for the commercial. Because of the importance of this contract, Lu Chan, together with his studio, focused his current work on Zhonghua Automobile. Lu Shi continued to negotiate with the other party for the most favorable conditions, while he himself was working on creative ideas for Zhonghua Automobile's new product. Station wagons are a derivative of cars derived from the trend of people advocating nature and being keen on tourism. Compared with SUVs and MPVs, their purchase price and use cost are lower, and they have a more dexterous body which is easy to drive and park. Therefore, they play an important role in the life of people in economically developed countries, especially in Europe. However, in China, station wagons are a niche model. They have not been introduced at all because they are not suitable for the domestic market demand. However, with the improvement of the material living standards of domestic consumers, it has become a new fashion for urban car owners to take family or friends, drive a station wagon, and go on a long trip together on holidays. Especially for young people, driving a station wagon to travel is a very romantic and pretentious thing, and it has been rendered dreamlike by many literary and artistic youths. Similar car travel articles can often be seen in some fashion magazines. Zhonghua Automobile is aiming at this emerging market and launched its first station wagon, the R100. Lu Chan first spent 2 days digesting and studying the relevant information sent by Zhonghua Automobile, and then searched for and browsed a lot of advertisements for foreign station wagons on the internet. During this period, he wrote a song and gave it to Wang Jing to arrange, and let the Nirvana band practice accompaniment. Finally, it took a week for Lu Chan to create and edit a music video to be used as the commercial demonstration of the R100. It was equivalent to doing part of the work that belonged to the advertising company. After that, Lu Chan asked Lu Shi to contact Zhonghua Automobile and demonstrate this music video advertisement to them. Chapter 315. Beijing, CBD Central Business District, Meisher Advertising Company. The morning sun shone through the large format floor-to-ceiling windows and fell into Zhuang Jingwei's office, bright and warm. The creative director of Meisher Advertising Company leaned back in the soft chair, picked up the coffee that his assistant had just brewed and took a sip, and his whole body seemed to warm up. But the mellow coffee didn't help to relieve the depression in his heart, and his frowning eyebrows never relaxed. He didn't even have the mood to pick up the newspaper that he used to read every day. Tap, tap. The office door was gently knocked. Zhuang Jingwei put down his coffee cup and said in a deep voice, "Come in." The door was pushed open, and a beautiful female assistant leaned in and said, "Director, the people from Zhonghua Automobile and Lu Chun's studio are here. The general manager asked you to attend the meeting." Zhuang Jingwei nodded and said, "I see." He picked up his coffee cup again. The female assistant hesitated for a moment, but still reminded him, "Director, the general manager asked you to go there immediately." Zhuang Jingwei stared at her and said, "I know you only have the general manager in your eyes now, and you don't have me, right?" The 40-year-old man's fierce appearance was quite scary, but the female assistant was not afraid at all. She stuck out her tongue and said with a smile, "I have to listen to your words and I have to listen to the general manager's words. I'll go with you. I heard that Lu Chan himself is also here." Speaking of Lu Chan, her eyes were shining. "I don't know if he is as handsome in real life as he is on TV. There is no doubt that she is also a fan of Autumn in my heart." Zhuang Jingwei rubbed his eyebrows, waved his hand and said, "Go, go, I'll go." Zhuang Jingwei's assistant is his niece, who is still a senior intern. She just wants to learn something from him. The girl has been spoiled by her family and is not afraid of him. It's useless to scold her with a straight face. So, Zhuang Jingwei decided to send her away when her internship period is over. He really can't afford to serve her. And when he heard the name Lu Chan, Zhuang Jingwei's mood was a little worse. Who is Lu Chan? He has only heard of him by chance before. Now he has understood him clearly. He knows that the other party is a musical talent, a new generation of singer, and has just starred in a TV series with popular ratings which has fascinated his niece. Tian. As the creative director of Meisher Advertising Company, Zhuang Jingwei has known and dealt with a lot of star artists, but he has never seen Lu Chan overconfident. The cause of the matter was the contract between Zhonghua Automobile and Advertising Company. The domestic top 100 companies entrusted the advertising business to Meisher Advertising Company to the new station wagon launched this year, and selected Lu Chan as the brand ambassador. It was very common for stars to endorse advertisements. After understanding the needs of the clients, Meisher Advertising began to work on relevant advertising plans. The first focus was the commercial for the Zhonghua Vision R100 station wagon. When Zhuang Jingwei racked his brains for this commercial and had a preliminary idea, there was suddenly news from Zhonghua Automobile that Lu Chan had personally edited and produced an R100 commercial demo. When Zhuang Jingwei was racking his brains for this commercial and had a preliminary idea, news suddenly came from Zhonghua Automobile that Lu Chan had personally edited and produced an R100 commercial demo. Not only that, but Zhonghua Automobile hoped that Meisher Advertising would take Lu Chan's creativity seriously and held a tripartite discussion meeting for this group of poor people, and the location was in Meisher Company. Zhuang Jingwei felt that his professional ability had been seriously challenged, and he couldn't bear it. If Lu Chan originally majored in art design and advertising, it would be understandable. But as far as Zhuang Jingwei knew, the entertainment industry rookie majored in computer science in college. Computers and advertising are not completely unrelated, but they are really two different things. Now he has openly brought the so-called commercial demo to Meisher Company. What's the difference between that and going to the door to challenge them? If it's an insider, he can pinch his nose and admit it, but a layman, most importantly, Zhuang Jingwei's painstaking creativity may be wasted. How can he not be depressed and annoyed? In the advertising industry, the most frightening thing is to encounter clients who don't understand and insist on their own opinions, interfering with the creative concept of the company's design, and finally come up with something nondescript. But even if he is annoyed, Zhuang Jingwei can't be willful. Unless he gives up the job, he can't disobey the general manager's order. But on the way to the conference room, he secretly made up his mind to make his voice heard. The conference room of Meisher Advertising Company was almost full of people. Zhuang Jingwei met the person in charge of Zhonghua Automobile, his colleagues, and Lu Chan. Among all of them, Lu Chan is undoubtedly the most conspicuous. He is tall, young, and handsome with a warm and kind smile. Even if he is prejudiced against him, Zhuang Jingwei has to admit that he is a very charming star. This kind of star has his own aura, which can make those fans fascinated. For example, the girl sitting next to the general manager, her eyes were shining like stars, and she almost rushed over to ask for an autograph and a group photo. Director Zhuang is here. Seeing Zhuang Jingwei come in, Kaijin, the general manager of Meisher Advertising Company, waved and said, "Come here and sit down." Kaijin, 35 years old, joined Meisher Advertising Company 7 years ago. The elite who returned from overseas studies rose all the way to the general manager's throne, and also brought Meisher into the ranks of the 10-4A advertising companies in Beijing. In terms of management skills and ability, Zhuang Jingwei also admires her. He sat down in his seat. Kaijin gave Zhuang Jingwei a discreet look. Zhuang Jingwei understood what she meant. Kaijin's management in Meisher has always adhered to an important concept in the service industry. That is, there are two elements in treating customers. The first is the customer is always right, and the second is, if the customer is wrong, please refer to the first point. This is in conflict with Zhuang Jingwei's professional concept, but it turns out that Kaijin is right. Advertising is like dancing with shackles. It is necessary to find the most suitable balance point under the heavy shackles of policies and regulations and customer requirements, and then jump out a beautiful dance. There is no doubt about the importance of Zhuang Jingwei's automobile to Meisher Advertising Company. Kaijin is obviously worried that Zhuang Jingwei, who is a little stubborn, will conflict with the customer's requirements in the creative concept of the R100 commercial. When all the people attending the meeting were present, Kaijin asked people to close the door of the conference room and turned on the computer projection equipment. She straightened up and said with a smile, "Today, our Meisher Advertising Company is very happy and honored to organize this demonstration discussion of the Zhonghua Vision, our 100 station wagon commercial. First of all, we welcome Manager Chan Hong from the Publicity Department of Zhonghua Automobile Group. The general manager of Meisher Advertising Company has a dignified and delicate appearance, and speaks in a soft voice, which makes people feel like they are bathing in the spring breeze, but no one who is familiar with her dares to underestimate her ability. Welcome Mr. Lu Chan, who is also the star spokesperson of the Vision R100. Lu Chan stood up and bowed slightly to the crowd. He edited and produced the MV commercial for the station wagon he endorses, which is not what Zhuang Jingwei thought. This meeting was proposed by the people of Zhonghua Automobile after watching the demo film. The reason why the discussion was held at Meisher Advertising Company was that this part of the advertising business was entrusted to this 4A advertising company, and Zhonghua Automobile also needed Meisher Advertising's professional advice. When the polite applause of welcome disappeared, Lu Chan continued, "At the request of Zhonghua Automobile, I wrote a song for the first commercial of the Vision R100. In addition, I also used the material on the internet to edit and make a MV for this song." He smiled and said, "I'm a layman when it comes to advertising. This music video is very crude, and it only represents a little of my personal thoughts. So, I hope that Meta TV can give us their professional opinions, so that we can work together to complete this collaboration. Thank you." This time the applause in the conference room was a lot more sincere and warm, and even Zhuang Jingwei applauded a few times. Lu Chen's words gave him a better impression of the former. At least Lu Chan was very polite. Although his behavior was a little excessive, his attitude was modest and he did not take it for granted that he was in a dominant position. That was in line with his identity as a brand spokesperson, not a planner. After Lu Chen's speech ended, Kai Jin asked his assistant to turn off the lights in the conference room and play the demo through the projection. The general manager of Meisher Advertising was also very curious. He didn't know what kind of work Lu Chan had come up with that could make Zhonghua Automobile put aside the preliminary plan proposed by him and choose a layman's creative idea. The next moment, a colorful picture appeared silently on the projection screen. The dark, vast, and empty prairie appeared in everyone's sight. In the lens, a straight road went straight to the distant sky, which made people feel an indescribable shock. Those who like travel or scenery recognized at a glance that this was the famous Qinghai-Tibet Sky Road. Then the camera slowly pulled up, and an off-road vehicle appeared in the picture, driving alone into the distance. The prelude of the music sounded softly, and there was Lu Chen singing. It was as if it came from the sky. "Wandering on the road, are you going via? Fragile, proud, that was once my appearance. Seething, restless. Where are you going via? Enigmatic, silent. Story, are you really listening? Oh." Light and shadow flashed and the picture switched. People sitting in the conference room unconsciously fell into the unique atmosphere created by the MV. The name of this song was The Ordinary Road. Note: The Ordinary Road lyrics. Han Han Pu Shu/composer. Pu Shu. Chapter 316. I've crossed mountains and seas and passed through a sea of people. I've had everything in the blink of an eye. It's all gone. I've been lost, disappointed, and lost all direction, until I see that ordinary is the only answer. The Ordinary Road was specially made by Lu Chan for the Zhonghua Vision R100 station wagon. It was a typical trip-hop chord breakdown, and the whole song had a strong folk style. The slow lyrical rhythm, clear voice, and low voice made the song full of a touch of warmth and sadness. In the music video edited by Lu Chan using online materials, the car and scenery are the eternal theme. The constantly changing scenery in the picture, as well as his voice entering the ear, and every word entering the heart, reflect each other, showing a strange charm, making people's state of mind can't help but follow the speeding car into the distance. It could let the listener enjoy the feeling of peace and youth, and find the direction of the future in sadness and confusion. I'm just like you, like him, like the weeds and wildflowers, inexorably. This is me, the only way to go. Time is silent, and so on. Tomorrow is in here. The road the wind blows is still far. Where is your story? Surprise and a trace of confusion froze in Zhuang Jingwei's eyes. Before watching this commercial music video, the creative director of Meisher Advertising had a strong doubt about Lu Chen's work. He even couldn't wait to teach Lu Chan a lesson, to let the latter know that not everyone can step in the professional field. But halfway through the music video, Zhuang Jingwei fell silent. From the point of view of commercial production alone, this music video was a mess. The editing was very amateurish, and the transition of the picture was very unnatural. It was completely a novice work. If it was made by a technical staff of Meisher Advertising, Zhuang Jingwei would definitely fire him immediately. However, Zhuang Jingwei was not stupid enough to use this point to attack Lu Chan. Because this was a demo just like a script sketch used in a movie. The technology was completely irrelevant. The key was creativity, conception, and the theme expressed. On these three most important points, Zhuang Jingwei could not find any big problems. The soundtrack was too good and the theme song was too good. The target group of the Zhonghua Vision R100 touring car was white-collar elites between the ages of 25 and 40 in the city. They had a certain economic foundation and career, and pursued spiritual freedom and enjoyment. Traveling by car was also one of the characteristics of this social class. Lu Chen's idea for the commercial, or rather the MV, was undoubtedly able to hit the mark of their spirit. It was sincere and magnanimous enough to portray an extraordinary life journey. The lyrics were deliberately rough, and the rap at the end of the song went straight to the heart, truly expressing the feelings of the target group. It was a wonderful song of life with rich emotions. Even Zhuang Jingwei couldn't help but want to go out for a walk as he listened and watched. Unlike ordinary car commercials, there was no explanation of the car model's advantages and configuration, and there was no introduction of the product itself. The film reflected a strong emotion. This was the only way to move people's hearts. At the end of the film, as the song disappeared, the screen turned completely dark, and a paragraph of advertising slogans silently condensed. The body has not moved, but the heart is already far away. Then the advertising slogan faded away, and the logos of Zhonghua Automobile and Vision R100 quietly appeared. The picture froze. The conference room was silent, and time seemed to freeze at this moment. After a while, no one knew who took the lead in applauding, and then the applause rang out. Half of the people present were managers of Meisher Advertising. As practitioners in the advertising industry, even if they didn't think as deeply and carefully as Zhuang Jingwei, they could still judge the quality of an advertisement. From a creative point of view alone, the idea of this MV was not particularly novel and unique. Even if it was carefully produced at a huge cost, it was estimated that it would not win any awards in foreign awards. However, its theme idea and product fit extremely well, especially the theme song, which was perfect. It would definitely be an excellent advertising work in the domestic market. If Lu Chen's popularity was taken into account, its influence could not be underestimated. What made the advertising people, including Zhuang Jingwei, speechless was that the idea and editing of this demo was actually a singer-artist, not an elite in their industry. This made people feel ashamed. After applauding, Kai Jin asked Zhuang Jingwei, "Director Zhuang, do you have any opinion?" Zhuang Jingwei thought for a moment and said in a deep voice, "The idea are very good, the theme song is first class, and the general direction does not need to be changed. As long as it is reshot according to the idea, it will definitely be an excellent advertisement. I have full confidence in this." He looked at Lu Chan and sighed sincerely. "Mr. Lu Chan, it's an honor for me and our Meisher Advertising to cooperate with an excellent artist like you." Zhuang Jingwei's words made everyone's faces smile. The people in Zhonghua Automobile had already seen the demo, and now the negotiation needed professional advice. Getting the praise and approval of Meisher Advertising proved that their vision was right, and they had chosen the right brand ambassador. Time is money, and the sooner the commercial is shot, the better it is for the promotion of the new model. Zhuang Jingwei's colleagues have never seen him so convinced by a layman before, and they all feel that it's interesting, and they can talk about it as an interesting story in the future. As for Lu Shi, who accompanied Lu Chan, she was even happier. In this way, the endorsement contract of Zhonghua Automobile will be stable. She is also proud of Lu Chan. With one song and one edited MV, Lu Chan easily convinced the two powerful collaborators. Lu Chan said with a smile, "Thank you. It's also my honor to cooperate with Zhonghua Automobile and Meisher Advertising." There was no tit-for-tat debate, no scheming quarrel. The atmosphere of the discussion between the three parties was very harmonious. The representative of Zhonghua Automobile confirmed the idea and creativity of the commercial on the spot, and then talked about the specific shooting issues. Lu Chan used online materials for editing. Most of them are movies from home and abroad. None of them can be used because of copyright issues. In addition to the alternative purchase materials, many shots need to be shot. As one of the protagonists, Lu Chan is naturally indispensable, and communication in advance is very important. The next day, Lu Chun Studio signed a formal endorsement contract with Zhonghua Automobile. 2 years of 12 million, not including the remuneration for work outside the contract. For example, this song The Ordinary Road. Zhonghua Automobile needs to pay an additional 500,000 to buy the copyright. With the first endorsement fee in the account, the financial situation of the studio has finally improved a lot. The shooting of a new TV series has also been put on the agenda. But before that, Lu Chun has an important event to participate in, that is, the 72-hour music festival. Chapter 317. February 22nd is the Lantern Festival. On the 15th day of the first lunar month, the Lunar New Year's festival is officially over, and major colleges and universities are about to open. The whole society will then re-enter the fast pace of daily life. After signing the endorsement contract with Zhonghua Automobile, Lu Shi helped Lu Chun win 2 advertising contracts with Thunderbird Watch and Lanjie Cosmetics, earning another 10 million. The funds for shooting the new drama are basically no longer a problem, but Lu Chun is not in a hurry to announce the shooting plan. On the day of the Lantern Festival, he came to his new home. The new house that Chun Feier transferred to Lu Chun is in the Ziqingyuan district in Beijing. Ziqingyuan was developed by Bandung, the leader of the domestic real estate industry. The location of the building is between the 3rd Ring Road and the 2nd Ring Road, not far from Yuantan Park. The construction was completed in 2007, and it is a real high-quality and high-priced property. The house is in room 1701 of Building 7, with a total of 300 square meters on the upper and lower floors, with a layout of 5 bedrooms, 2 living rooms and 3 bathrooms. Compared with the single apartment that Lu Chun is currently renting, the conditions are simply worlds apart. The most important thing is that the management of the Ziqingyuan district is excellent. Lu Chun basically doesn't have to worry about being harassed by paparazzi. Of course, the property management fee is also quite expensive. Considering that the Ziqingyuan district is also very close to the New Era Art Park, Lu Chun decided to move in after signing the sublease contract there. The house has been officially transferred to his name. Since Chun Feier has already renovated the house, he can move in directly as long as he brings his belongings over, which is very convenient. The decoration of the new house is very good. It can be seen that it was designed by a famous designer. The simple European style coupled with the rather artistic decoration makes people feel comfortable living here. There are 2 rooms on the first floor, a living room, a kitchen, a dining room and a bathroom. The living room is very large, and it is no problem to invite 3 or 5 friends to hold a small party. The kitchen and dining room are abnormally clean and have no signs of being used. The sofa, furniture, kitchen, bathroom and home appliances were all equipped with famous brands. Although Lu Chun did not know much about renovation, he could tell that Chun Feier had spent at least 2 or 3 million on this house. The price of a house in Ziqing Garden was at least 100,000 yuan. This house with a first-class floor and a first-class design was definitely a discount for him. It was truly the price of a friend. Of course, compared to the price at which she bought it, she made a huge profit. In recent years, the housing prices in the capital had been rising rapidly. Even outside the 5th Ring Road, the price was 20 to 30,000 yuan. It had reached a point where ordinary people could not afford it. If Lu Chun hadn't been lucky enough to embark on this path, he wouldn't have been able to afford a house in Ji Province, which was adjacent to the capital, let alone a house in Zicheng Park. I've only stayed here a few times, but I've arranged for people to clean it regularly so it's very clean. Chun Feier smiled as he pulled Lu Chun's hand and said, "I'll go upstairs and take a look." Today, she brought Lu Chun to look at the house. She was so happy that it was as if she had just bought a big new house. As a music queen with an annual income of tens of millions or even hundreds of millions, Chun Feier simply had a soft spot for real estate. She never invested the money she earned into any financial products. Most of it was invested in real estate. She had many villas, commercial houses, and shops under her name. Facts had proven that this conservative investment method had brought her huge profits that exceeded her own business. With money, she could be willful. In addition, she had a wide network of contacts in the entertainment circle. Therefore, Chun Feier could control her career and fate in her own hands. She didn't need to rely on any management company. Compared to most artists, she lived more freely. As they walked up the spiral staircase, Chun Feier smiled mysteriously. I've prepared a gift for you. Lu Chun was curious. What gift? Chun Fei giggled and didn't answer. Upstairs, it was another special world. The small hall connected to the staircase had been transformed into a small bar and tea room. Outside, there was a scenic balcony full of all kinds of green potted plants. People couldn't help but want to sit down and drink tea while reading a book. At the same time, they could also enjoy the bustling scenery of the capital. Opposite the small bar, there was a brand new upright piano. The golden harp logo branded on the body of the piano flashed with a faint light, clearly indicating its value. This expensive Steinway piano was a housewarming gift from Chun Fei to Lu Chun. Lu Chun was surprised. Thank you. Chun Fei rolled her eyes at Lu Chun as if she was blaming him for being polite. Lu Chun chuckled, reached out and hugged Chun Fei's willowy waist, and bent down to kiss her soft lips. It was a long kiss full of emotion and affection. It didn't end until Chun Fei's face turned red. She pushed Lu Chun shyly and said, "Try the piano." Lu Chun nodded, sat in front of the piano, opened the lid, and tried the timbre and intonation first. The timbre of the Steinway piano, which was worth hundreds of thousands of yuan, was excellent. Although the vertical model was not as good as the triangle model, it was already a luxury configuration for home use. The intonation had also been adjusted by professionals. At least Lu Chun couldn't hear any problems. Although he had obtained countless precious memories in the dream world, Lu Chun had never thought of relying on these wealth to eat and wait for death. He had been working hard to improve his abilities in all aspects and had never stopped learning. For example, Lu Chun's original level was not much better than that of a beginner, but now it was not a big problem for him to take the amateur level 8 or 9 exam, and there was still a lot of room for improvement in the future. Putting aside the dream memories, Lu Chun was still very talented in music. Chun Fei said, "Play a song." Lu Chun asked, "I'll play and you'll sing?" Chun Fei thought for a moment and replied, "You play and sing by yourself and I'll record it for you." She really took out her mobile phone, turned on the recording function, and began to record Lu Chun. Lu Chun couldn't help laughing. He sat up straight, pressed his fingers on the smooth keys, and said very seriously, "This song is for the most beautiful, intelligent, and proud Miss Chun Fei." Chun Fei's hands couldn't help shaking. She held back her laughter, held the mobile phone again, and continued to record. However, Lu Chun played the prelude. To Chun Fei's surprise, although the melody played by Lu Chun was very beautiful, it was very strange. This was a new work. Although she had long been accustomed to Lu Chun's seemingly endless musical inspiration, at this moment, Chun Fei still felt very surprised. This song was specially for her. Here winter leave I wake up in a certain year and a certain month. I think I wait I look forward to but the future can't be arranged for this. Cloudy day evening outside the car window there's a person waiting in the future. Looking left right forward love has to turn a few corners to come. Who I meet what kind of dialogue will I have? How far in the future the person I'm waiting for is? I hear the wind from the subway and the sea of people. I line up to hold the number plate of love. Oh, beautiful melody, bright style, simple lyrics. Although there was a trace of melancholy and sadness in the lyrics, it was sung by Lu Chun extremely affectionate, more like the pursuit and persistence of love. Chun Fei was the only audience. Listening to this song, her eyes quietly appeared intoxicating softness. I fly forward flying over a sea of time we have also been hurt in love. I see that the entrance of the dream is a little narrow. I met you as the most beautiful accident. One day my mystery will be revealed. When Lu Chun sang, "I met you as the most beautiful accident," he looked back at Chun Fei. "Meeting you as the most beautiful accident." Chun Fei bit her lips, wanting to cry and laugh at the same time. She wanted to throw herself into his arms even more. She stopped recording, put down her phone and looked at Lu Chun's eyes. Their lingering feelings silently met in the air. Lu Chun only sang this song once. After singing he stood up and asked Chun Fei, "Do you like it?" Chun Fei threw herself directly into his arms and couldn't wait to give him a hot kiss. After kissing for a long time the two sat together on the sofa. Chun Fei leaned against Lu Chun's arms, playing with her phone and asked, "What's the name of this song?" Lu Chun replied, "Meeting? Meeting?" Chun Fei chewed the name of the song softly, and suddenly opened her mouth to sing. "I fly forward, I fly across a sea of time we have also been hurt in love. I see that the entrance of the road is a little narrow. I meet you is the most beautiful accident. Her memory was very good. She sang without missing a single word, and her pitch was also very accurate. Lu Chan was greatly impressed because Chen Fei had heard the cover once, which was very close to the original singer in his memory, and her natural voice very well expressed the artistic conception of the song. Tien, the sound of nature means a lot. Do you think it's good for me to put this song in the new album? Lu Chan smiled and said, It's good that you like it. The song for Chen Fei's new album had been decided, but if she liked it, it didn't matter if she changed it. Chen Fei happily opened the video meeting that she had just recorded on her mobile phone and watched it again. After watching it, she suddenly had an idea. What do you think if I post this video on my blog? Lu Chen was stunned, and then immediately smiled and said, It's good that you like it. This should have been a very private video. If it was posted on a blog, the relationship between the two would almost be semi-public, and it would definitely not be hidden. But what did it matter? It would happen sooner or later, and now was not the time to say that it was not the right time. The popularity of Autumn in My Heart made Lu Chan and Chen Fei the best couple in the eyes of fans, and many people on the internet shouted that they should be together. Hearing his answer, Chen Fei looked up at Lu Chan and asked, Really? Lu Chan nodded and said, Really? Chen Fei smiled, selected the title of the video, and forwarded it to her associated blog. After uploading it, she seemed to have completed a big thing. She threw the mobile phone away, then stood up and pulled Lu Chan and said, Let's go and see the bedroom. Note: Meeting lyricist, Yijiang/composer, Lin Yifeng. Chapter 318. The 300 square meter high-class apartment was a super luxury level, comparable to an ordinary villa. The space on the upper and lower floors was very large, and the master bedroom was no exception. It was connected to a bathroom and a cloakroom. The adjacent room had been renovated into a study, and even the computer was ready-made. Chen Fei was very careful. Although she had not lived in this house for many years, there were still a lot of traces of living there. She had deliberately changed the bedsheets, quilts, furnishings and other items, so that the bedroom did not look like a boudoir. But there was still a photo of her on the bedside table. The diva of the music industry was like a child showing off her favorite toy. She pulled Lu Chan around the 3 rooms upstairs and asked, Do you like it? Lu Chan hugged her and said with a smile, I like it, but it's too big and empty to live alone. Chen Fei said, You can ask Sister Lu Shi to come and live with you as well as Auntie and Lu Shui. In the future, you can ask Lu Shui to come to Beijing to study. Even if her grades are not good, she can still go to a good university. Lu Chan sighed. They won't come. In fact, you are still missing one person. Chen Fei was puzzled. Who? Lu Chan said with a smile. Don't you think this house is missing a hostess? Chen Fei suddenly understood and her pretty face turned red. What does that have to do with me? Lu Chan showed a thoughtful look and said, Do you think I don't have to pay the 30 million yuan I owe you if I bring you in? Chen Fei said with a smile, In your dreams. I regret letting you pay me in installments. Pay me back quickly. Lu Chan finally revealed his ferocious face. He pressed Chen Fei down on the soft big bed and said fiercely, It's too late to regret. Now you are in my hands. No one can save you even if you shout yourself hoarse. Chen Fei shouted, Help! Pressing down on her graceful body, smelling her enchanting fragrance, and listening to her soft and enchanting cries for help, Lu Chan could no longer restrain the passion in his heart, and once again deeply kissed her. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became incomparably charming. Just as the two of them were fooling around, the comments section of Chen Fei's Waves blog exploded. Chen Fei had more than 20 million fans on Waves blog. Usually, one of her blog posts would have tens of thousands of reposts and hundreds of thousands of comments. After Autumn in My Heart was broadcasted, it attracted a large number of Fei fans. There were more and more people paying attention to the movements of the heavenly queen of the music industry. Therefore, once the blog post titled Meeting was posted, it immediately attracted the attention of countless fans. When the fans clicked on the blog post, they found that the content was neither a selfie of Chen Fei, nor a sharing of work itineraries or life experiences. It was actually a video of Lu Chan playing and singing. Autumn in My Heart had set a record for the ratings of domestic TV series in recent years. It made Lu Chan and Chan Fei a trend to become domestic couple idols. The relationship between the two had always been one of the topics that fans liked to talk about. Some people said that Lu Chan and Chan Fei were teachers and friends. They were like sister and brother. They had a very good relationship, but they were not a real couple. Some people said that the two had been dating for a long time, but they had not made it public. In addition to some media speculation, Lu Chan and Chan Fei had not released any private photos to confirm this scandal. Lu Chen's name and photos have also appeared in Chan Fei's blog, but they are basically related to work, music, or the kind of friendship that looks very simple. Now, the blog post that Chan Fei posted was undoubtedly very unusual. The video in the blog post was undoubtedly shot by Chan Fei himself. The shooting technique was not very good, but because the phone was good, the video was still very clear. First of all, the scene was definitely not a public place. From beginning to end, there was only Lu Chan in the camera. This song is for the most beautiful, intelligent, and proud Miss Chan Fei. Before he started playing the piano, Lu Chen's words were not like those of ordinary friends. They were full of love. Most importantly, when he was about to finish singing, he looked back at Chan Fei. The deep love in his eyes could be seen by anyone who was not blind. Meeting you is the most beautiful accident. Didn't this song sing Lu Chen's heart? Not to mention that Chan Fei took the initiative to upload the video to his blog. It was obvious that he wanted to announce their relationship. How could her fans not explode? He finally made it public. I knew it. Is this a public display of affection? It's killing the single dogs. 555 Fei is my goddess. Why do all goddesses have to leave me? Juanqi and Eunhui are really together. Throw flowers to celebrate. Whose house is this? This is a love song that Lu Chan gave to Chan Fei. It's really nice. You're very touched, aren't you? Don't hold me back. I'm already on the balcony. Bless. In just half an hour, meeting received more than 100,000 comments. They were all reposted by netizens, including Chan Fei's friends in the circle, further spreading its influence. Although the number of Lu Chen's fans was not as many as Chan Fei's, it was still more than 15 million. Many fans were fans of both of them, so if there was any movement on one side, the other side would know immediately. The reaction of Lu Chen's fans was even more intense. Haha, big Lu Chan is mighty. I've already said it. Now you have nothing to say, right? It's obvious that they're in a relationship. Showing off your love will die faster. My Lu Chan will not be snatched away. Chan Fei and Lu Chan are really a good match. Let's bless them together. Don't be jealous. Burn the heterosexual to death. Gay is true love. What an unexpected surprise. I hope that the relationship between the two of you will last a long time. Bless them. It's the Lantern Festival. Is it really okay for the two of you to do this? Sigh, I didn't expect Lu Chan, who has thick eyebrows and big eyes, to betray the revolution. Most of the fans of Chan Fei and Lu Chan were pleasantly surprised by the PDA video that was suddenly released by her. Then they gave their blessings. Only a small number of people were disappointed, dissatisfied, or cursed. In fact, basically not many people were surprised. After all, there was so much foreshadowing. Coupled with the success of Autumn in My Heart, perhaps the real surprise was that the two of them did not end up together. There was also a small number of fans who thought that the two of them were shooting a commercial or a music video. However, this kind of unconvincing idea did not even cause a bubble to bubble. Compared to the explosive fans, the reaction of the people in the entertainment industry was undoubtedly much more cautious. After all, the two of them did not make an official statement. In order to avoid making a mistake, they temporarily took a wait-and-see attitude. Another explosion was the media. No one would have thought that Chan Fei would suddenly make such big news during the Lantern Festival. Therefore, the phones of the two's agents were soon exploding with calls. Chapter 319. Night fell slowly, and the capital was already brightly lit during the Lantern Festival. Room 1701 of Building 7 of Zicheng Garden was dark. A mobile phone that had been left between the cushions of the leisure sofa buzzed rhythmically, and the caller ID flashed red frequently. The phone rang for a long time, but no one picked it up and turned it on. Just when it calmed down, another mobile phone on the floor of the master bedroom rang again. However, no matter how hard it tried to call out to its owner, there was no response. The master bedroom was very dark. On the 2-meter-wide bed, the thick down quilt was swaying violently. Suddenly, a foot popped out from under the quilt, trembling slightly in the cold air. This foot was still dazzlingly white in the twilight. It was exquisite and round, and its skin was as translucent as jade. The arch of the foot was arched and the toes trembled. The round and bulging toes, coupled with the light pink toenails, looked very cute. The owner of the foot seemed to be going through a fierce battle. Sometimes it trembled, sometimes it curled up, sometimes it tensed up, and sometimes it relaxed. It stretched and bent its toes helplessly, trying to catch something like a panicked drowning person. No one knew when it started, but a low moan sounded in the quiet bedroom. It was as soft as a flute, but it also sounded like the wail of a swan on the verge of death. There was a trace of unbearable pain, but it was extremely weak. Soon it started again. It was like the sound of nature that could captivate one's soul, and there was an indescribable joy in it. In the midst of it, there was also the sound of heavy breathing, like a ferocious beast preying on its prey. The movement on the big bed lasted for a long time, accompanied by an uncontrollable scream. The exposed foot, which had already been covered with goosebumps, finally retracted under the quilt. Thus, there was only the sound of breathing in the room, and the thick and gentle spring scenery gradually spread out and blended into the night. After a long time, a figure crawled out of the warm quilt. He landed on the floor with bare feet, bent over to pick up the phone that was half hidden in his trouser pocket, and then quickly hid back on the bed, leaning against the headboard to look at the caller ID. "What's wrong?" Chun Fair poked her head out from under the blanket. The beautiful face of the heavenly queen of the music industry was flushed with shyness. There were still traces of tears in the corners of her eyes. Her hair was messy and sweaty, making her look even more seductive. Lu Chun reached out and pulled the beauty into his arms. He kissed her cheeks lovingly and said guiltily, "Sister called me a few times just now." It wasn't just a few. The screen showed more than 10 missed calls. Chun Fair shrunk his head and said embarrassedly, "Sister Zhang must have called me." Sister Zhang was Chun Fair's assistant for 10 years. She was also her manager. Sister Zhang usually handled the external affairs of Chun Fair's studio, including media contacts. She half-disclosed her relationship with Lu Chun in a moment of willfulness, which must have caused a sensation on the blog. It was inevitable that Lu Shi and Sister Zhang would call to ask about it. "You two started a fire, so you should at least give me an explanation, right?" However, Chun Fair didn't have the slightest regret in her heart. The result of a moment of passion was out of control. She did shameless things with Lu Chun in this new house to transform herself into a real woman. She had long been mature, but she didn't know how wonderful it was to be a woman until now. Lu Chun chuckled, dialed the number with one hand, and groped restlessly with the other. He simply couldn't stop himself. Chun Fair felt Lu Chun's hot palm caressing her skin, bringing with it a familiar hot feeling. She couldn't help but let out a soft moan, and her eyes were so charming that tears were about to drip out. She was in love and shy at the same time. She bitterly opened her cherry mouth and bit Lu Chun's shoulder. Hiss! Lu Chun couldn't help but take a breath of cold air, so ruthless. However, at this time he had already dialed Lu Shi's number. Even if he wanted to take revenge, he had to endure it first. "Sister." This phone call lasted for more than 10 minutes. And Lu Chun was scolded half to death by Lu Shi. As a star artist, the problem of love was very important. Even if they wanted to make their relationship public, they had to arrange a plan first. At least they had to let the company and the agent know so that they could deal with the media together. Chun Fair's blog post was very sudden. After posting it, she didn't care what kind of storm it would set off. She just immersed herself in the sweet sea of love. It was also willful. The main reason was that both of them opened their own studios and were in charge of their own affairs. Unlike many artists who were controlled by entertainment agencies above them, they had to report and approve their relationship. However, in this way their studios were naturally caught unprepared. Sister Zhang and Lu Shi could only deal with the storm-like interview requests of the media, while calling the two of them. As a result, no one picked up after a long time. According to Lu Shi, it was too unreliable. If Lu Chun hadn't made this phone call, Sister Zhang and Lu Shi would have run to Zicheng Yuan to catch them in the act. Lucy knew that Luchan had come here to look at a house. Combined with the video on the blog, how could she not understand what was going on? In the face of his sister's anger, Luchan could only bow his head and admit his mistake, not daring to refute a word. I'm wrong, I'm guilty. However, he didn't regret it at all. After scolding him, Lucy was probably in a good mood. She asked, "Is Feier with you?" Luchan answered honestly, "Yes." Lucy hesitated for a moment and asked again, "Are you two like that?" "Like that? I see." Although Luchan was thick-skinned, he couldn't help but blush. The topic was too sensitive. He didn't know how to answer it, so he could only wait in silence. Lucy snorted and said, "I knew you. Forget it, give the phone to Feier. Sister Zhang wants to talk." Luchan handed the phone to Chen Feier embarrassedly. "Sister Zhang is looking for you." Chen Feier stuck out her tongue and took the phone. Sister Zhang. She was also complained about by Sister Zhang, but she finally got over it. After taking back the phone, Luchan directly pressed the power button and turned off the phone. He didn't want to be disturbed tonight. Just as he threw the phone aside, Luchan suddenly felt something strange on his chest. He looked down and saw Chen Feier moving her slender fingers and drawing circles on her chest. She stared at Luchan with her big watery eyes, which were full of endless charm. The Heavenly Queen giggled and asked softly, "Are you hungry? I'll cook something for you." Seductress. Luchan couldn't help but growl and immediately pressed Chen Feier under his body. "Have a taste of my staff first." At 9 o'clock on the night of the Lantern Festival, Luchan Studio and Chen Feier Studio issued statements one after another, confirming that Luchan and Chen Feier were currently in the process of dating, and sincerely hoped to get everyone's blessing. At 10:30, Luchan FMX published an article called, "My Meeting with You is the Most Beautiful Accident." The content of the article was a stills of Autumn in My Heart. In the photo, Yin Juanxi, played by Luchan, and Yin Enshi, played by Chen Feier, snuggled up to each other and smiled brilliantly in the sun. At the same time, Chen Feier and Chen Feier replied with a smiley face emoji. At this point, the relationship between the two was completely exposed, and at the same time, they also received the warm blessings of countless fans. Although a small number of fans expressed disappointment, loss, and even sadness and dissatisfaction because of the previous foreshadowing, coupled with the huge influence of Autumn in My Heart, everyone actually expected and prepared in their hearts. Many people even eagerly hoped that they could be together, so they felt very surprised. The most worrisome situation of excessive fan emotions did not happen. Luchan and Chen Feier first met on the talent show Singing China on Beijing television. At that time, one was a contestant and the other was a mentor. However, they have known and fallen in love all the way to the present, which has undoubtedly become a popular story in the pop music world. No one knows how long their relationship will last, but friends in the circle and other celebrity artists they know or don't know have also sent their best wishes, making this topic quickly occupy the top of the blog hot search list. Without any suspense, by the next day, Luchan and Chen Feier's relationship became the entertainment headlines. QQ. Make an appointment on the Lantern Festival. Luchan and Chen Feier officially open their relationship. Tidal Web. It's no longer just a scandal. The truth of Chen Feier's love comes to light. EasyNet. Seeing sibling love again, Luchan and Chen Feier no longer hide and calmly face millions of fans. Entertainment Weekly. Fake drama becomes real. Luchan and Chen Feier reveal the secret of love. News headline. The perfect combination of a heavenly queen and a musical genius. Xinqing Daily. Encounter is a beautiful love. Pop music. Many media outlets dug out the previous information of Luchan and Chen Feier, pieced together the love route of the two, and matched it with all kinds of exaggerated words, which also attracted enough attention. More media outlets sent reporters to squat at the door of Luchan's studio and Chen Feier's studio, hoping to be able to stop the two parties and interview first-hand information. But these media reporters were disappointed. Both studios refused their interviews, and Luchan and Chen Feier were nowhere to be seen, as if they had evaporated from the world. Because whether it is Luchan or Chen Feier, they do not need to use their own relationship to hype up, turning the beautiful relationship between them into a tool for profit, and they do not want to become the hot topic of the media. There are countless news happening in the entertainment industry every day. As long as the two do not cooperate, this topic will naturally subside and no longer become the focus of people's attention. And Lu Chan and Chan Fei can quietly enjoy the time of their love. They left their never-ending work, threw the daily affairs to their respective agents, and quietly ran to Bali for a sweet vacation. It was not until March 2nd that Lu Chan and Chan Fei returned to Beijing. 2 days later, on March 4th, is the opening day of the most famous 72H Grass Music Festival in China. At that time, Lu Chan will lead the Nirvana band to perform. Chapter 320. With the passage of time, the hot news in the entertainment industry is like a summer storm, coming and going quickly. Because the two studios did not cooperate, and the two parties did not hype up the disappearance of players, so except for the fans who were still noisy on the internet, the media quickly shifted their attention and were too lazy to continue to be self-sentimental. There was too much gossip in the circle. Here the two female stars were fighting, and there was a rumor that a male star was coming out of the closet. True and false hype and acting, there was as much material as he wanted. When Lu Chan and Chan Fei broke up one day, or one of them cheated, then it would be worth reporting. And this was exactly what Lu Chan and Chan Fei expected. They waited until the storm subsided before quietly returning to China. During this period they did not show their love on the blog. In addition to cooling down the topic, it was also to avoid killing the single dogs. Beautiful time always passes quickly. After returning to Beijing, the two had to separate again and busy themselves with their respective careers. Although she loves Lu Chan, and her own wealth has accumulated to the point where it can't be spent in a lifetime, Chan Fei has no idea of quitting the entertainment industry for the time being. She likes singing, likes acting, likes standing in the spotlight, likes her career, and doesn't want to be reduced to a housewife early. Perhaps one day, when she is tired, she will marry Lu Chan without regrets and retire from the circle forever. She will wash away the prosperity and make soup with her bare hands. She will give birth to several children and accompany them to grow old happily. Lu Chan is very supportive of Chan Fei's idea. His career has just started, and it is the time for him to show his ambition. He does not want to mix feelings and career together. Only when two people understand and support each other can their relationship last and blossom and bear fruit. The separation and reunion in the entertainment industry is too common. Neither Lu Chan nor Chan Fei wants to be one of them. On the day he returned to Beijing, Chan Fei began recording the new album. Lu Chan, on the other hand, took the time to practice his new work with the Nirvana band, preparing to participate in the 72H Grass Music Festival. For this famous music carnival, he had written 2 new songs early. The 72H Grass Music Festival was founded in the early 1990s by a number of record companies and 7 famous musicians in the circle. At that time, the first music festival was held in Chaoyang Park in Beijing. The first music festival invited 32 singers and 11 bands to participate. More than 10,000 people came to attend the festival, which caused a great sensation at that time and became a grand event in pop music. Among the 32 singers and 11 bands, there were well-known rock and roll representatives such as the Black Ravens and the Sky, as well as many nobodies. However, some of the singers rose to prominence in the music festival and attracted widespread attention in the music industry. This led to more and more people signing up to participate, and voluntary participation became invitation participation. Later on, the Mystic Music Festival moved to Wild Mountain Park, near the New Era Art Center, and changed its name to 72H Grass Music Festival. It had been held 19 times so far. Although it has been interrupted several times in the middle, 72H Grass Music Festival has always maintained a strong influence in pop music, especially by those who really like pop music lovers. 72H mainly invites singers and bands with characteristics. Whether the other party is a big name in the circle or a street performer, as long as they have a unique singing style or work, they have the opportunity to stand on its stage and show their strength to tens of thousands of audiences, so that they can get the favor of entertainment agencies. Qin Kaixian, Su Liwen, Gunaza, Chao Luan, Red Express, Wednesday, etc. all came out of 72H Grass Music Festival and went to the whole country. This year's 20th 72H Grass Music Festival invited the most singers and bands in the past, and received a lot of sponsorship, so it was extraordinarily grand. Just after the Lantern Festival, many singers, bands and music fans came from all over the country to Beijing, and then set up tents at the music festival site in Yeshan Park. The singers and bands that came early didn't all get an invitation letter. They came here with the idea of a pilgrimage, in order to participate in this important exchange of non-mainstream music. 72H Grass Music Festival had another name in the circle. It was called Non-Mainstream Music Festival. This was because in this grand event the most popular were not the mainstream love songs, fast songs or sloppy songs but rock, heavy metal, R&B, rap, postmodern, folk and other non-mainstream genres. Therefore 72H Grass Music Festival was very famous, but it was very rare to see big stars. Old singers, bottom-level singers, and underground singers were the most common. Singing fast songs and sloppy songs here would be looked down upon and then booed off the stage. Freedom, spontaneity, pioneer creation was the theme of 72H. It was like a huge magnet, attracting those talented but unsuccessful musicians to come one after another. As for the fans who arrived early, they were truly passionate. Not everyone had the money and time to spare. Many of them had specially taken a leave of absence and took the high-speed train for 5 or 6 hours or even longer to come to the capital, just to be able to get the best seats at the venue. By March 3rd in Yeshan Park, south of the New Era Art Park, countless red and green tents had been erected, extending from the grass in front of the stage to the hillside hundreds of meters away. Looking down from above, the scene was spectacular. The singing stage was basically built, and the background and lighting were arranged. Only the sound equipment had not yet entered the venue. On the morning of the 4th, which was the opening day, 6 pairs of outdoor speakers taller than a person were placed in different positions. The big LED screen in the background of the stage began to play the test film, and the atmosphere suddenly became lively. More and more music fans appeared at the scene, and the entrances and exits of the park began to restrict the flow of people. There was also a cordon in the distance. The loudspeaker had been playing reminders, and media reporters appeared in the crowd. Liu Chan and the Nirvana band arrived at Yeshan Park near noon. Originally, Liu Chan didn't have to come so early, because his performance time was arranged at about 8 o'clock in the evening, and it was not too late to come when it was dark. However, he had long admired the name of 72H Grass Music Festival. He had never had the opportunity to come to the capital to see the scene. This time he had the opportunity to participate in person, so he came in advance to recharge his faith. As for Wang Jing and other members of the Nirvana band, they had all seen the scene, but it was also the first time they went on stage, and they were also very excited and even excited. When Liu Chan just appeared in front of the stage with his people, he was immediately stared at. Chapter 321. Teacher Liu Chan. When Liu Chan walked toward the backstage, a vigorous figure flew over and blocked his way. Fortunately, Liu Chen's reaction was fast enough and stopped in an instant. Otherwise, he would have directly collided with the other party. You are. The person who blocked his way was a young girl in her early 20s. She was wearing a red down jacket with the logo of the 72H Grass Music Festival. Her appearance was ordinary, but she had a ponytail and looked very youthful and lively. Even the few freckles on her face revealed a bit of cuteness. There was an identity nameplate with an anti-counterfeiting logo hanging on her chest, and there was a cameraman following behind her. The ponytail girl was obviously very excited. Big eyes were full of excitement. She raised the microphone in her hand and pointed it at Liu Chan. She asked a series of questions. Hello, Teacher Liu Chan. I'm a reporter from the entertainment channel of Tide Network. What works have you prepared for this music festival? Do you have any plans to release a new album this year? Also, are you going to make a sequel to Blue Love? Can you talk about your relationship with Chun Feier? Stop. Liu Chan was a little dizzy from the bombardment of her series of questions. He quickly made a stop gesture. Liu Chan smiled bitterly and said, Can you ask them one by one? Tide Network was one of the large portal websites in China. It was also a local internet giant company in Beijing. It was currently listed on Nasdaq in the United States and had considerable influence. Therefore, Liu Chan had to give some face, even if the other party seemed to be a completely reckless newcomer. It was a very profound knowledge for star artists to deal with the media, and he was still learning. The ponytail girl's face turned red. She took a deep breath and said embarrassedly, I like your songs very much and the TV series you made. I'm also your loyal fan. She also knew that she was a little reckless just now, so she quickly explained a few words so as not to annoy Lu Chan. Stars hated entertainment reporters, but they were often willing to give some face to an entertainment reporter who was a part-time loyal fan. This little trick was taught by her predecessor, but she was really a fan of Lu Chan. Some time ago, when Lu Chan and Chen Feier announced their relationship, and when the media hyped it up, the two played the game of disappearing from the world and avoided the interview to quickly cool down the topic. But this didn't mean that this topic didn't sell. For the ponytail girl who was still a newcomer, being able to catch Lu Chan at the 72H Grass Music Festival today was like a big pie falling from the sky. She felt dizzy, so she was too excited and didn't pay attention to her words. If Lu Chan was scared away, the news would come to her. Her explanation was really effective. Lu Chan smiled and said, "For the sake of fans, what do you want to ask?" Lu Chan said, "Lu Chan, Lu Chan, Lu Chan." Lu Chan nodded. Lu Chan nodded and said, "Okay, I'll be there in a minute." The 72H Grass Music Festival didn't have such a low level of accompaniment. It was all live accompaniment. The singers who participated in the performance could bring their own band or let the organizers arrange it. In addition, items such as drums, electronic organs, synthesizers, and so on were not easy to move. Unless they had special needs or obsessive-compulsive patients, most of the participating bands used the equipment provided by the organizers. Otherwise, if each band brought their own full set of equipment, it would be troublesome to move it back and forth, and it would be a waste of time to change it. As for guitars, basses, and other instruments that were easy to carry, most of them were self-prepared. The organizers provided multiple sets of the same equipment for the band members who arrived in advance to practice and familiarize themselves with it, so as not to affect their normal level of performance. The Nirvana band was no exception. Even if their territory was in Beijing, they were not arrogant enough to use their own instruments. They only brought a few guitars and basses, so they definitely needed to find a feel before going on stage. As soon as Wang Jing and the others left, the ponytailed reporter from the Trend Network Entertainment Channel couldn't wait to ask, "Teacher Lu Chan, is this your first time participating in the 72H Music Festival?" Lu Chan replied, "Yes, in fact, I wanted to come to Beijing a long time ago. I didn't expect to be able to participate in person today. It's a very fresh and exciting experience for me." Then, have you prepared any new works for this music festival? There were many new singers and bands participating in the 72H Grass Music Festival, including many excellent singers and songwriters. Unless it was a tribute, they disdained to cover other people's works. At the music festival, original works were also the most popular and sought after, including many representatives sent by entertainment agencies. They were also happy to see more new and good works. At present, the domestic pop music scene really needed new original works, because many pop music lovers, including those ordinary listeners, had already begun to get tired of the same fast songs. Originality was king. This was the most important reason why the 72H Grass Music Festival could have such a great influence, even though it had a strong non-mainstream nature. Lu Chan was precisely relying on originality to start, especially the campus folk song trend that he set off. It had a great impact both inside and outside the circle, and the endless original works had brought him a high reputation. If Lu Chan cooked cold rice on 72H, it would definitely disappoint a lot of people. Of course, Lu Chan wouldn't disappoint everyone. "Yes, I have prepared 2 new songs, both of which will be my first public performance." The ponytailed reporter smiled and said, "That's great. I'm looking forward to your new works. May I ask if you have any plans to release a new album this year?" Lu Chan said without hesitation, "I will definitely release my second album this year." This was a fact without a doubt. Once the new studio at the art park was renovated and the recording studio could be put into use, he would start to produce his second album. Whether he went to shoot TV, movies, or anything else, music would always be the foundation that he stuck to. Lu Chan. Mr. Lu Chan. Teacher Lu Chan. Just as Lu Chan answered the ponytailed reporter's second question, 6 or 7 reporters suddenly ran over. They brought their respective cameramen and surrounded Lu Chan. Microphones and recording pens were extended to his mouth. It wasn't only the ponytailed reporter from Tide Network who came to interview the 72H Grass Music Festival. Many entertainment-related media had also sent out reporters to dig for news clues at the scene. The ponytailed reporter's interview with Lu Chan attracted their attention, so they swarmed over like bees smelling honey. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 or 20 people gathered, surrounding Lu Chan and making it difficult for him to move. Li Feiyu saw that the situation wasn't good, so he quickly stood in front of Lu Chan to protect him. The security guards at the scene also rushed over to help maintain order. But this didn't affect the enthusiasm of the reporters. They shouted and asked Lu Chan all kinds of questions. As a result, she took the lead in the beginning, but because of her small and weak body, the ponytailed girl was squeezed out of the crowd. She was so angry that she stamped her feet again and again. But there was nothing she could do. Grab news. News really needed to be grabbed. Especially when interviewing hot people, it was very important to occupy a position. Compared with the veteran entertainment reporters of QQ Network and Entertainment Weekly, the ponytailed girl was really too inexperienced. She stomped her feet and was depressed, but in fact some people were even more unhappy than her. It's awesome to have a heavenly queen. On the east side of the stage of the music festival, on the grass not far from the backstage area, a large independent area was separated with warning tape. There were hundreds of tents inside, and in the open space between the tents, many singers with guitars sat in 2s and 3s. This position was specially allocated to singers and bands who came from outside to participate in the performance. On the one hand, it was to save their expenses. On the other hand, it was also an occasion for them to communicate. Therefore, it was possible to see several or a group of singers gathered together to chat, drink and talk about music. Because the location was very close, the scene of Lu Chan being interviewed by a large number of media reporters inevitably fell into the eyes of many foreign singers. Some people glanced at it and no longer paid attention. They were immersed in their own music world. Some showed curiosity or envy when they saw such a scene, and some showed disdain or even contempt. A group of about 20 singers looked in the direction of Lu Chan. A thin, dark-skinned, long-haired young man sneered. "This world still has to look at faces." His words were immediately agreed by others. "Yes, being handsome is an advantage. Who told us not to have a good reincarnation? We can only rely on ourselves to work hard." "Humph, in terms of strength, can he compare with our brother Gongzi? Those soft folk songs are nothing. Real singers should sing rock and roll. It's a pity that nowadays fans go to the face. Those entertainment companies are rushing to sign some little fresh meat. Haha, we are old wax sticks." In tonight's performance, Brother Gongzi will show his skills and shock them. When Brother Gongzi was popular, the Brother Gongzi they mentioned was Gang, the lead singer of the Wednesday Band. The Wednesday Band was founded at the beginning of the new century with 5 members. It was originally a pure rock band. The band became famous at the 72H Grass Music Festival. At that time, the Song of the Earth written by Gang and sung at the music festival was a sensation, and was regarded as a counterattack work of national rock. As a result, the Wednesday Band was signed by Gem Records and released 2 albums that sold very well. The style also changed from pure rock and roll to a combination of pure and light, incorporating more musical elements. However, the band did not have a long time to shine. Their follow-up works lacked highlights, and they also had a dispute with Gem Records. After the termination of the contract, Gang took people to the south to develop. But every 72H Grass Music Festival, as long as the Wednesday Band was invited, they would definitely participate. And this year, Gang and Wednesday brought their carefully prepared works to the festival. Chapter 322. Gang was in his 30s, but he looked older, like an uncle in his 40s. His beard was unkempt, and he had an indescribable decadent aura. However, compared to many of his dispirited peers who were equally unkempt and unkempt, he looked quite different. His clothes and trousers were all starched and clean, and there were absolutely no thick stains on his clothes. His thick and strong fingernails were neatly trimmed, and his eyes were bright and full of spirit. No one would mistake him for a homeless man on the street. Gang frowned slightly at his companion's incitement, then he immediately smiled and said, "Don't say that. Lu Chan is a very capable singer. In terms of talent, he is much better than me." No one thought that Brother Gongzi, who had always been quite arrogant in the circle, would actually praise Lu Chan so much. Those people who ridiculed Lu Chan just now couldn't help but shut their mouths and showed an awkward expression. Gang acted as if he didn't see it and continued. Yesterday, I chatted with Big Chin from the Bionics for a long time. Big Brother Chin told me a lot about Lu Chan. It is lucky to have someone like him appear in the pop music world. Gang had been in the music industry for more than 10 years. He had experienced prosperity and also experienced neglect. He had mingled in the mainstream and non-mainstream circles. He had mixed in the low-level and high-level circles. Naturally, he had his own views on life. He was very clear that in the domestic pop music world, the non-mainstream circle was as complicated as the mainstream circle. It was full of all kinds of people. Those depressed singers often had prejudice and even hatred towards the famous people in the mainstream circle. And it was often these people who were actually very envious of the glory of the mainstream circle. On the other hand, the mainstream circle's rejection and contempt towards the non-mainstream circle had always existed. The original intention of the 72H Grass Music Festival was to break the barrier between the two circles, to let more outstanding talents at the bottom stand out, and to let the mainstream circle pay attention to their existence. But it was not easy. Although there were many singers and bands that emerged through 72H and were signed by entertainment agents, the situation of the non-mainstream circle had not changed. The mutual estrangement and discrimination had never really been eliminated. To be honest, Gang, who was now wandering between the mainstream and non-mainstream circles, also looked down on the so-called young idols in the mainstream circle who had mediocre singing skills and completely relied on their good looks to make a living. But Lu Chan was definitely not that type. When the wandering band's Great Chin was mentioned, everyone fell silent. Regardless of whether they admitted it or not, the Bionics were now one of the most popular bands in the music industry. Chin Hanyang's background in Chin had given him a very high reputation in the non-mainstream music industry. His single In the Spring had moved countless lower-class singers, and they all viewed Chin Hanyang as a big brother. Lu Chan happened to be the songwriter of In the Spring. His works also include Chasing Dreams with a Childlike Heart, Once You, Fly Higher, and other outstanding light rock songs. It was nothing more than his youth, handsomeness, TV series and relationship with Chun Fair that made people intentionally or unintentionally ignore his talent and strength in original music. Wasn't it very ignorant and laughable to look down on such a person? Many people's faces showed a bit of shame. Gang clapped his hands and said, "Actually, on the other hand, to be able to perform with a singer like Lu Chan on the same stage is also our luck. I suggest that we all bring out our best and not let others look down on us." This time, everyone's reaction was enthusiastic, and their morale rose again. Yes, Brother Gang Z is right. We can't let others look down on us. Gang smiled but didn't say anything. In his heart, he was thinking about the performance at night. He had never been a singer who was willing to be lonely. The ups and downs of life made him know how to cherish opportunities. Although Lu Chan was strong, it wasn't enough to make him lose the courage and confidence to sing. Similar to Gang, those capable singers were also rubbing their palms together, eager to compete with each other. Although their fame and popularity couldn't be compared to a popular singer like Lu Chan, the 72H Grass Music Festival was different from ordinary performances. The audience who came here had a high degree of recognition for the non-mainstream circle, and they knew how to appreciate rock and roll and other niche types of music. In the history of 72H, there was no lack of famous singers who were booed to the point of losing face. The live band accompaniment, the unplugged features, and the authentic singing were a test of individual strength. Therefore here, anyone could sing more popular than Lu Chan or other big-name singers. At this moment, Lu Chan didn't know that there were so many singers waiting to compete with him. He used more than half an hour to deal with the reporters and arrived backstage. Although it was called backstage, it was actually a simple tent that was temporarily set up. It was as long as a vegetable shed. There were already many singers and bands in the tent. Lu Chan saw several familiar faces. Brother Liao Jia. Among the singers invited to the 20th 72H Grass Music Festival, the one with the highest status was definitely not Lu Chan. It was Liao Jia. This disciple of Black Raven's lead singer and soul figure, Gao Yi, was once regarded as the last hope of national rock. Although he couldn't save national rock, he still had a high influence in the music industry. For the 72H Grass Music Festival, Liao Jia also had a very special identity. He was one of the founders. Of course, Liao Jia was only a special guest of the music festival, not a member of the organizing committee. Lu Chen and Liao Jia knew each other because of Chen Fei. The latter once pursued Chen Fei, but Chen Fei didn't have any feelings for him. In the end, Lu Chen, this young boy, won her heart. For this reason, Liao Jia deliberately looked for Lu Chen to compete in drinking, and the two became friends because of each other. Liao Jia's temper was a little impatient, but he had a good character. His popularity and reputation in the circle were even better. Therefore, even if Lu Chen's popularity was higher now, he still had to politely greet this person. "You're here too." Seeing Lu Chen, a smile appeared on Liao Jia's dark and thin face. He stood up from his seat, stepped forward, and patted Lu Chen's shoulder hard. He asked in a very polite manner, "What time does your performance start?" Lu Chen replied, "Around 8:30. Liao Jia smiled and said, "I'm at 7:30. I've wanted to compete with you for a long time. Now the opportunity has come." Lu Chen blushed with shame. "Brother Liao Jia, can we not joke?" "Who's joking with you?" Liao Jia glared and said, "If you lose to me, I will despise you." Chapter 323. The biggest feature of the 72H Grass Music Festival, which was also the most talked about, was that on its stage, celebrity status and fame were not important at all. The audience judged the singers based on their live performance. In other words, whether it was Liao Jia or Lu Chen, there was not much difference between them and other singers who were just performing on the street. Everyone was standing on the same starting line and competing on the same stage. Of course, famous singers would definitely get a lot more attention, but that was all. Liao Jia's challenge to Lu Chen originated from this. He was very serious. If a singer wanted to break through, 72H was undoubtedly a very suitable stage. He challenged Lu Chen, and other singers were also challenging him and Lu Chen. Liao Jia was a very proud person. He appreciated Lu Chen, but he would never be willing to be a foil to Lu Chen here. Bringing out all his strength was the recognition of the challengers. It was also the greatest respect for the audience. 72H was actually equivalent to a large-scale singing competition. The judges were tens of thousands of enthusiastic audiences who came to Wild Mountain Park. Many of them came from all over the country and traveled thousands of miles just for the sake of their feelings. Near noon, as the opening ceremony of the music festival was about to be held, more and more people gathered in the park. Looking from a high place, it was all black and there were also erected tents. Freedom, openness, and tolerance were the theme of the 72H Grass Music Festival. To participate in the 72H Grass Music Festival, there was no need to buy tickets and there were no seats. Everyone could watch and leave, and it was not a problem to set up camp. However, due to the large number of audiences near noon, the management of Wild Mountain Park began to restrict the audience's entry to prevent the number of people entering the park from exceeding the park's capacity. In addition, the large advertising LED screens on the east and west sides of the park would also synchronize the live broadcast of the main stage to play the role of diverting the audience and reducing the pressure on the venue. In addition, hundreds of security personnel and a large number of volunteers worked together to maintain the safety and order of the music festival. On the first Friday in March 2016, the weather was exceptionally sunny. The warm sun shone on Wild Mountain Park in early spring. The crowd was bustling, and the air was filled with the smell of music. At 12 o'clock, 12 outdoor speakers placed in different parts of the park played passionate music at the same time. The blood-boiling singing fiercely impacted the eardrums of all the audience present. The crowd was shocked into silence for a moment before they let out earth-shattering cheers. The 20th 72H Grass Music Festival, a carnival for free pop music fans, was about to begin. The opening music was the classic rock composition of the Black Ravens, Tomorrow Reborn, that everyone was familiar with. This song Tomorrow Reborn is not only the famous work of the Black Ravens, but also the pinnacle of national rock. Almost all rock singers have covered and practiced it. As long as they heard this familiar melody, people would always think of the glorious days of the national shake. However, his eyes were brimming with tears. Among the audience at the music festival, there were many old fans in their 40s and 50s. The rock and roll years that they had personally experienced had long been engraved in their memories. Therefore, when Tomorrow Reborn was played, They roared and sang along like hot-blooded youths. The atmosphere of the music festival was pushed to a climax at the beginning. Unlike those ordinary large-scale outdoor activities, the opening ceremony of the 72H Grass Music Festival was so simple that it couldn't be simpler. There were no flags fluttering, gongs and drums to cheer, no beautiful models to match the etiquette, no long speeches from big-bellied leaders to sponsors, and not even a host. On the big stage, the band for the first performance was already in place, and then Liao Jia appeared as the singer representative. This big brother of the pop music industry was wearing a black long-sleeved cotton shirt with the head of Gao Yi, the lead singer of the Black Ravens, and tattered jeans. His unruly long hair was braided, and his dark face looked solemn. He stood in front of the microphone and said to the thousands of audience below the stage, "Hello everyone. I'm Liao Jia. I'm very happy to stand here with everyone again and enjoy the happiness that music brings to us. It's been 20 years. How are you all?" Liao Jia roared out the last sentence with all his strength, with a kind of hysterical vicissitudes and nostalgia. Good. Countless audiences responded loudly, and countless hands were raised high. Their shouts converged into a sea of sound waves, spreading in all directions and passing to every corner of Wild Mountain Park. After Liao Jia waited for the audience's emotions to erupt, he nodded and continued, "I won't say much else. You're here to listen to the song and I'm here to sing. That's it." He grabbed the microphone and threw it to the lead singer of the band behind him. "Come on." The next moment, applause, screams, and whistles sounded one after another, and it didn't subside for a long time. In such a noisy atmosphere, the first band to participate in the 72H Grass Music Festival, which was also a local band in Beijing, the Engine Band, began to sing. Lasting for 72 hours, a gluttonous feast belonging to pop music fans officially began. At the same time, Lu Chan sat in the corner of the backstage area. He was watching the live video broadcast on the big screen in front of him while his mind wandered. The 72H Grass Music Festival did not have a live TV broadcast, but the copyright of the live online broadcast was bought by NetEase Music. The number of online audiences was quite astonishing. Anyone who cared about domestic original pop music would not miss this extraordinary performance. After experiencing the initial excitement, Lu Chan was now very calm. He recalled his musical journey all the way and always felt like he was still in a dream. Maybe it was because everything came too fast. "Lu Chan, what are you thinking about?" Just as Lu Chan was lost in thought, Wang Jing came over and sat down beside him and asked curiously. Lu Chan came to his senses, smiled at her and said, "Nothing, just thinking about our performance." Wang Jing said, "It's still early for us to go on stage. You're not nervous now, are you?" Lu Chan couldn't help laughing and shook his head. Wang Jing was embarrassed. "I'm a little nervous. I never thought I would have the opportunity to go on the 72H stage before." Lu Chan smiled and said, "Believe me, the stage that belongs to you will only be bigger in the future." Lu Chan didn't just say that. He built the Nirvana band as his own exclusive band. This band will accompany him to a more brilliant stage. 72H is just the beginning. Wang Jing bit her lip and said, "Thank you, Lu Chan." She has too many reasons to thank Lu Chan. Thank Lu Chan for helping her at her most difficult time. Thank Lu Chan for allowing the Nirvana band to survive and be reborn. Thank Lu Chan for investing a huge sum of money to let Wang Hui build the high-end recording studio he dreamed of. Thank Lu Chan. She hasn't properly and sincerely thanked Lu Chan. Lu Chan's contracts for the new Nirvana band, including her and Wang Hui, are very loose. There are no harsh restrictive clauses, no squeezing conditions, but the treatment given is higher than the average level of the industry. Lu Chan smiled and said, "You're welcome. We're friends." "Friends?" Wang Jing nodded silently. After a while she stood up and said, "I'm going to practice." Lu Chan. "Okay." As soon as Wang Jing left, another man sat down beside him and handed him a can of beer. "This chick is interested in you. You can't let her down. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rough with you." Lu Chan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Brother Liao Jia, you think too much." "It's better that I think too much." Liao Jia casually pulled open the ring and gulped down a few mouthfuls. Then he said, "I told Old Tan that pretty boys are unreliable. Old Tan said that you're not, but I'll keep my eyes on you. Lu Chan shook his head, opened his beer and clinked it with Liao Jia. You'd better give up. I won't give you a chance to be rough, and even if you are rough, you're not my opponent. I admire your confidence. Liao Jia clenched his left hand, and his knuckles creaked. Tonight, I can beat you up and let you know what a real rock singer is like. Lu Chan was curious. Brother Liao Jia, your new work tonight is pure rock. Are you scared? Liao Jia gave him a contemptuous look. Tell me first, what song are you going to sing? Lu Chan replied without hesitation. Rock. Rock. Liao Jia's eyes widened in disbelief. You're going to sing rock. Lu Chan was famous for folk songs, especially the campus folk songs he created, which made him widely popular among young people, and he was known as a folk music genius. Lu Chan also wrote many rock songs, but most of them were sung by others, such as the Bionics, North Needle, etc., and he only sang Chasing Dreams with a childlike heart. Liao Jia couldn't help but feel surprised that he was going to sing rock at the 72H Grass Music Festival instead of the folk songs he was best at. 72H wasn't a talent show or a recording studio. Singing on stage here was unplugged and untuned. Most of the audience were veteran rock music fans, and they would be able to hear the slightest loss of standard. Also, rock was not easy to sing. Lu Chen's voice was used to singing lyrical and nostalgic folk songs. Could he sing rock live even if it was light rock? Liao Jia expressed his doubt. You're not deliberately trying to lose to me, right? Lu Chan returned a contemptuous look. You're not afraid, are you? Liao Jia suddenly felt hot blood rush to his head. Afraid of you, just don't cry when you lose. Lu Chan laughed. Okay, let's make a bet. Whoever loses will go back and treat us. Liao Jia slapped the stool fiercely. Let's do it. Chapter 324. There were many singers in the backstage area, and most of them were local people in the Beijing circle. Unlike the band singers from other places, local singers usually did not camp in Yeshan Park. They naturally formed a different circle from the foreign singers who stayed in the camp area outside. Of course, these two circles were not the kind that were clearly separated and minded their own business. There were people who knew each other and communicated with each other. Some were friends and some were friends of friends. There was no antagonism, but there were still differences. For example, in the inner circle, in terms of fame and position, Liao Jia and Lu Chan are undoubtedly ranked in the top two. Beijing's local singers undoubtedly have more respect and attention to the two, unlike foreign singers, who hope to overturn them on the stage. Who was Liao Jia? He was a big brother in the domestic pop music industry, famous for his forthrightness. As a newly rising singer and songwriter, Lu Chen's experience was almost legendary in the Beijing singer circle. The story of his song In the Spring, making the Bionics popular, was still talked about. So, the conversation between the two attracted the attention of many people present, especially when Liao Jia was about to bet with Lu Chan. Everyone stopped watching the TV screen. There seemed to be a more exciting show here. Lu Chan noticed the eyes from around him and said with a smile, "It's not enough to invite me alone. If you want to invite me, you have to invite everyone together. What do you say?" The singers in the Beijing circle were still very respectful. Regardless of whether they heard it clearly or not, they all applauded loudly. Anyway, they wouldn't lose out by applauding. Liao Jia was so angry that he scolded. "Are you sure you can beat me? Dream on. There's no problem with inviting everyone. Whoever loses will have to open a table at Dihao. There will be as many tables as there are people. Everyone will have a share." This time everyone understood. Suddenly everyone smiled and praised loudly. Brother Liao is mighty. Dihao is a famous 5-star hotel in Beijing. Even a buffet there costs 388 renminbi per person. If they were to open a table, the cost would be even higher. There were at least 100 people in the backstage area, so they had to open at least 10 tables. Liao Jia looked at Lu Chan triumphantly. "You want to fight with me? I'm the one who can beat you." Lu Chan smiled. "Then it's a deal." He extended his hand to Liao Jia and high-fived him to seal the deal. Pa! Two palms clapped heavily together. It was considered an interesting event in this year's 72H Grass Music Festival. In fact, whether it was Liao Jia or Lu Chan, it was not a big deal for them to open 8 or 10 tables in the Imperial Hotel. They were just looking for some fun and excitement. So the topic quickly turned to the music festival itself. Liao Jia gulped down 2 cans of beer and, a little tipsy, began to comment on the singers and bands on stage. The content included the other party's style, works, singing skills, and so on. Among the people present, only he was qualified to do such a thing. Even Lu Chun wasn't qualified enough. Liao Jia was very outspoken. If he thought it was good, then it was not crude. If he thought it was not good, then it was not good. He did not use repetitive words or clichés that would not offend people, but his comments were quite sharp and on point. Lu Chun listened more than he spoke, and he also discussed a few words with Liao Jia. The surrounding singers were all attracted over. One of the most important purposes of the 72H Grass Music Festival was to communicate. To be able to listen to the live comments of this big shot in the music industry was definitely a rare experience for them. It was also an excellent opportunity to increase their experience and knowledge. The stones from other mountains could be used to attack jade. By absorbing other people's strengths and comparing them to other people's weaknesses, one could completely improve oneself. As time passed, Liao Jia's talkative nature did not decrease. Some of the singers around him and Lu Chun went on stage and left, while others came in to fill in, forming a unique circle in the backstage area. The types of singers invited to the 72H Grass Music Festival were very complicated. Of course, there was no lack of existences to hold the stage. For example, today's big shots included Liao Jia and Lu Chun, as well as a few famous local singers. However, whether it was Liao Jia or Lu Chun or a few others, their order of appearance was quite late. According to the time, Liao Jia would go on stage to sing at around 7:30 in the evening. Lu Chun was an hour away from him. However, this time was definitely not fixed. 72H was different from a normal concert. First of all, it was very long. Secondly, the time when the singer would go on stage was very variable. This was mainly reflected in the return stage. On this stage, even if a singer or a band was completely unknown and nobody knew their name, as long as they produced sufficiently wonderful and outstanding works, or displayed superhuman singing talent, they would be recognized and loved by the live audience, and they would even request to return to the stage. The audience's evaluation was the only standard to measure a singer's performance. The longer and more enthusiastic the audience's applause, the louder and more impassioned the cheers, and the more sincere and intense the request to return stage, then the more honor this singer would win. Although 72H did not give out awards, and there were no trophies or bonuses, this was definitely a place where one could become famous overnight. Therefore, the singers and bands that could go on stage would basically all display their full strength. Among the more than 10 singers and 4 bands that had already appeared, there was a singer and a band that stood out and received high praise from Liao Jia. Especially the female singer Mu Mu. Her self-played and sung "Do" made Liao Jia slap the table and praise it. At the same time, she also received crazy cheers from the audience. The audience used their applause to ask her to return stage and sing a second song. Liao Jia said to Lu Chun, "You should sign her." Lu Chun was speechless. He also thought that this female singer named Mu Mu was very strong, but currently, his studio did not have any requests to sign her. If he took too big a step, it was easy to pull his balls. Moreover, even if he did not talk about the music festival, there were too many capable singers in Beijing that no one wanted to sign. If Lu Chun's studio released the news, there would definitely be a lot of talents coming over to be taken in. Therefore, even if he missed out on this Mu Mu, there was nothing to regret. However, regarding Lu Chun ignoring his opinion, Liao Jia expressed great disdain. "You must be afraid that your husband will be jealous, so you don't dare to sign this female singer." He humped and said, "Your husband is pretty good." Lu Chun was very speechless about this. With great difficulty, it was finally 7 p.m., and it was finally Liao Jia's turn to go on stage. The reason why the time was brought forward and not delayed was because there were a few singers who gave up at the last minute or applied to adjust the time on stage. This kind of situation was very common in music festivals. As soon as Liao Jia went on stage, he immediately received a warm welcome from the audience. He did not disappoint, and brought out his own original song for the first song, Memorial Day, a pure-blooded national rock work. Chapter 325. Liao Jia was a singer with a lot of character. At first glance, he did not look like a famous singer at all. Instead, he looked like the kind of gangster that was commonly seen in Hong Kong films. When he had nothing to do, he would sit in an old tea house and drink tea and snacks, while secretly commanding a group of underlings to collect protection fees from everywhere. In the circle, Liao Jia was also recognized as a forthright and loyal person. His aura was very unique, and when people faced him, they would involuntarily feel a trace of awe. But when he appeared on the stage with a guitar, he was a completely different Liao Jia. This Liao Jia was a singer, a rock singer, a veteran who could give up everything for his ideals. When he strummed the steel strings and opened his mouth to roar the first line of the lyrics, the thousands of audience around the stage all boiled up, as if a ladle of cold water had been poured on boiling oil, exploding with a sizzling sound. In memory of the frivolity of youth, in memory of the dead love, in memory of the everlasting friendship, Liao Jia used this original song Memorial Day to sing his longing and nostalgia for the past years, as well as his anger and confusion towards the strange and dazzling world. The powerful rhythm and melody, the rough but real lyrics, coupled with his unique hoarse roar, made the audience feel as if they had returned to that period of rock and roll. They sang randomly with Liao Jia, roared loudly, shouted together, and commemorated together. In the backstage area, all the singers, including Lu Chan, stood up and paid tribute to the rock veteran who had never really given in. Many fans once said that Liao Jia, who wrote Ivy House and Old Guy, had fallen, and that he had turned his back on rock and roll in the declining era of the country, and chose to compromise with the market. However, at this moment Liao Jia, who was standing on the stage, was still that angry young man in a black t-shirt and blue jeans, with long hair, who roared his dream of freedom with a guitar and singing. The atmosphere of the music festival was instantly pushed to a climax. The cheers and applause of the audience were like a tide, each wave higher than the last, and countless people were shouting his name. Liao Jia. This name was also a symbol of the past era. By the time he finished singing Memorial Day, Liao Jia was already sweating profusely and panting. Time was merciless, and the former rock and roll youth was now old. His addiction to cigarettes and alcohol had greatly damaged his health, making it impossible for him to return to his peak state. Just like Memorial Day, it was undeniable that Liao Jia's new rock and roll work was very tasty. It was 100% Chinese rock and roll, but whether it was the melody or the lyrics, there was not much novelty. It could not be compared with classics such as Ivy House or Old Guy. Although the audience was excited by Liao Jia's performance, they were obviously not completely satisfied. Old Man. No one knew who started it, but it soon became the main melody of the scene. Old Man. The audience wanted to listen to the old song that embodied the feelings of the country again. As expected, Liao Jia satisfied everyone's request and sang Old Guy again. Old Guy was written in the late 1990s. It was a classic work released by Liao Jia when the national rock scene was dispirited. At that time, this album was regarded as the last glory of the national rock scene. Since then, Liao Jia had no works that could be compared with it. Almost 20 years had passed, but the charm of the song had not faded. Instead, it had become more and more intoxicating as time passed. However, Liao Jia's state of mind when he sang the song again was different. There was too much vicissitudes and helplessness. Instead, the scene quieted down. Listening to the familiar melody and listening to Liao Jia's voice, which was no longer young, many old fans could not help but shed tears and sing along silently or softly. Romance was always blown away by the wind and rain. No matter how unwilling they were, the national rock scene was already a thing of the past. The 72H Grass Music Festival could not save pure rock and roll, just as Liao Jia could not save the national rock scene. At this moment, many fans forgave Liao Jia's betrayal of rock and roll from the bottom of their hearts. It was enough to have that period of time. Liao Jia felt the emotions of the audience at the scene, and was deeply infected by it. In the end, his eyes also turned red. After playing the last note, Liao Jia bowed deeply with his guitar. He used this way to thank these most lovely, most sincere, most loyal fans. Go! 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 The next moment, the same shouts rang out like a tsunami. This was a request for Liao Jia to return to the stage. According to the rules of 72H, whether it was a singer or a band, they could only sing a maximum of 2 songs on stage. However, if they performed well enough and were requested by the audience to return, they could sing 1 more song. The audience of 72H was very picky. It was not easy to get the approval of most of them, From noon until now, there were only a few singers and bands who were requested to return. After singing 2 high-intensity songs in a row, Liao Jia was not only sweating, but even his cotton shirt was soaked with sweat. However, he did not show the slightest fatigue. Instead, he was in high spirits and his face was glowing, especially his pair of eyes that were amazingly bright. No one would refuse a fan's request to return, and Liao Jia was no exception. The third song he sang was also his famous song, Ivy House. This rock and roll work was not as intense as Old Guy. It was more nostalgic, and the melody and rhythm leaned towards a light rock and roll style. It was very suitable as the closing song. Liao Jia's voice was a little hoarse, but Ivy House was still sung with such flavor that the fans at the scene were intoxicated. In the end, although there were still many fans who continued to shout go, trying to keep this rock and roll veteran. However, Liao Jia did not break the rules of 72H. He bowed repeatedly and thanked them before leaving the stage. He left the stage to the newcomer. When Liao Jia returned to the backstage area, all the singers applauded together to express their respect. Liao Jia smiled and cupped his hands in return. Thank you, thank you. He strode back to Lu Chen's side and sat down in his original position. He reached out to wipe the sweat on his forehead and asked impatiently, "How is it? Do you still have confidence?" His expression was completely like a naughty child who had just obtained a big slingshot and was showing it off to his friends. Lu Chen smiled and gave him a thumbs up. Brother Liao is mighty. Lu Chen sincerely admired Liao Jia's youthful spirit. Some singers sang better as they got older. Liao Jia was obviously such a singer. It was really good to listen to him live. Don't give me that. Liao Jia glared at him and his eyes dimmed a lot. Actually, I know that the first song I wrote wasn't that good. Now I can only rely on my past achievements to get popular. Lu Chen tried to comfort him. Brother Liao, you can't say that. You don't have to comfort me. Liao Jia shook his head. He patted Lu Chen's shoulder and wiped it. The future of the music industry belongs to you guys. Lu Chen really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After Liao Jia finished and Lu Chen went on stage, there were 3 singers and a band in the middle. Among them, the 3 singers who went on stage after Liao Jia were not famous. The quality of the works they brought was mediocre. Although they sang very hard, they didn't get much applause and recognition from the audience. The style of the 72H Grass Music Festival was like this. If you didn't perform well on stage, then don't expect the audience to give you face. There was no live support here. If the singer asked the fans for applause, they would only get boos. But the band Wednesday, who was in front of Lu Chen, made people's eyes light up. Wednesday was quite famous in the rock circle. The lead singer, Gang, was a very good singer and lyricist. He created a song, Earth Ballad, which was once a hit at the 72H Grass Music Festival and became a rock star at that time. But Wednesday didn't become popular in the music industry for long. After releasing 2 albums, there weren't many new works. In recent years they had almost disappeared. This year Wednesday made a comeback with new works. There was no doubt that they had prepared carefully. One was City of Loneliness, and the other was Hurt. These 2 light rock works, whether it was the melody or the lyrics, were remarkable. The lead singer, Gang, performed these 2 works very well and sang with enough flavor. So far, there were more than 100 original works that were brought out by the singers in this year's music festival. City of Loneliness and Hurt were among the best works. Especially the latter song, Hurt, was even more wonderful. The climax of the chorus made the fans' hearts rise and fall. Applause rang out one after another. Without any suspense, after the 2 original works were finished, Wednesday also received the treatment of returning to the stage. The returning song was the song that made them famous, Earth Ballad. 10 years to sharpen a sword. Liao Jia, who was watching the scene from the backstage area, said to Lu Chen, "Gangzi has really matured." Lu Chen asked, "Are you friends with him?" Liao Jia shook his head and said, "Not really. I used to know him and chatted a little. Wednesday was originally in Beijing, but then they went to the deep sea. I heard that they didn't do well. Now they definitely want to come back." Liao Jia's tone was very matter-of-fact. The center of the domestic pop music industry had always been in Beijing. Singers and bands that didn't develop in Beijing, no matter how well they did, were not an important part of the circle. The others, whether it was in Shanghai or the deep sea, belonged to the periphery. Therefore, if a singer, including a band, wanted to realize their ambitions and dreams, then Beijing was the only choice. 72H Grass Music Festival was actually a stage for newcomers to realize their dreams. Wednesday had come and gone. Now that they came back, they came prepared and brought out good works. Are you under any pressure? Liao Jia smiled and asked Lu Chan. Next, it's your turn to go on stage. Yes, Lu Chan had already stood up and said. But what I'm least afraid of is pressure. If this was a challenge, he was happy to accept any challenge. This was Lu Chen's confidence.